Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the HerStory Online Summit, day 31. Welcome to everybody on the panel. Hey, Jerry, how are you?
Good.
We made it to the last day of our summit. This is exciting. 31 straight days of being online, connecting, and sharing these amazing stories. Our wonderful first guest is Lydia. Lydia, welcome.
Thank you very much.
So I'm just going to acknowledge the custodians, the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today. Thank you for hosting me in this beautiful country, Australia, and giving us the ability to broadcast these amazing stories and messages from women from all over the world. It's an absolute honor to be able to do this from this space and something I do not take lightly. So this morning we're going to be in the company of people from many nations. Lydia is originally from Zimbabwe. She's based in South Africa. Jerry's family is going to be joining us today. Her daughter Shia, who's already a member of the HerStory movement, and her son. So we're looking forward to hearing those two stories. I know we have another Zimbabwean lady, Dorothy, is coming in from the UK. She just sent me a message on Facebook saying, hey, you forgot to send me the link. So Dorothy, my apologies for that. Please join us if you can. We have a really good lineup of speakers. So let's see how we go with today. So Lydia, did you send it through to me?
Yes, I did. The bio is just below the picture.
Let me see. All right, here we go. So let me introduce Lydia Mccourty. Lydia Mccourty is born and bred in Zimbabwe. She's 56 years old, the mother of 2 grown boys and 1 grandson. After leaving college in 1986, she worked in the public and private sectors, doing mostly clerical work and administrative jobs. She also tried her hand at several small businesses as a side hustle while she was in full-time employment. She relocated to South Africa in 2009 in search of greener pastures, and she started volunteering as an administrator at her local church while looking for a job. She then met a woman who was operating a laundromat in Pretoria and realized that she could work with her. She was looking to sell her business and run another business in another location. So they partnered up and went into business. So, Lydia, I'm going to let you tell the rest of your story. It's an absolute honor that you responded to the call to step up to our platform. And we'll let you talk for 15 to 20 minutes. Then we'll come back and we'll be with you asking questions and finding out more about your business. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Gertrude, for the opportunity to showcase and to tell my story. So I'll take off from where you left. I operated the laundromat for just over a year. Then I was called at the church where I had volunteered. They now wanted me to go and join them full time. So I went and joined the church. I took up the job as an administrator at the church. So after working for about 3 months, I've then found that it became difficult for me to do the job as well as do the laundry as well. So I then left the laundromat and worked full time and left my friend to continue with the laundromat. So as I was working there at the church, still at the church, me and my husband purchased a 34-ton truck and a 34-ton trailer and a truck, and we started a trucking business. So with this trucking business, we were transporting some granite stone from Marikana, a place called Marikana here in Gauteng province, to Durban, to the port in Durban. But this truck gave us problems. It used to break down on each and every one of the trips, and that used to cost us money. It became so bad that we started falling into debt as the truck kept breaking down. We were now so deep in debt that we nearly lost our house because we had given up our house as collateral for capital for that business. So when that happened, I then had to think quickly to see what I can do to redeem ourselves from this debt. So one Saturday afternoon, I just went to a Chinese shopping mall just to look and see what I can do, which is low capital, which is not capital intensive, that I could quickly do so that I could earn money and recover. So whilst there, I just was going into the shops to see maybe what I can try and buy for resale. I then went into this shop which was selling things for bidding, beads and stuff and all things to do with bidding. There was this lady from Kenya who was buying a lot of stock, and there was also a lady from my fellow country of Zimbabwe who was the shop assistant in that shop. So I then struck a conversation with the two ladies, and I learned that this lady from Kenya was buying stock to do jewelry to send back to her home in Kenya where she was selling. So I then advised her that I would be interested to learn, and she was willing to teach me. Only that time she was very busy. She couldn't spare some time, but she, however, then told me what are the basic things I needed to start bidding. So I purchased those things, and we exchanged numbers. Then she was going to call me once she's free to be able to teach me. So when I went home, I then became curious, and I started just experimenting with the things that I'd bought, with the tools that I'd bought and the beads and stuff. So I started experimenting, teaching myself to do jewelry. And then during the week that followed, I then gave some of the things that I'd made to my sons who were in university then, and also to my husband. And I also took some to church where I was working to sell. So I was amazed at how people were so in love with my products. That encouraged me so much. And so some people now started giving me pictures to say, can you please try and make this for me? And others gave me some pieces to do like reverse technology. So that way I started, my skill in bead designing grew. The lady from Kenya, I never then got a call from her, but I suppose she had already done what she needed to do in my life. So that's how I started bidding, and it started growing. And over the years as well, I found myself, I've been doing a lot of counseling of ladies with marital problems, all sorts of problems. Then I started, I'm also doing facilitating of grief share for those who have been grieved. I found, especially after COVID, these things just grew so much during COVID, so much that there was a lot of counseling to be done. But anyway, I found that besides giving them emotional and psychological support, I could also teach them this skill, that my newly acquired skills, so that they can at least get some income for themselves. They can supplement, even those that are working could supplement their income, because some of them would be, maybe the husband is gone and he has left them with kids to look after, and they were so dependent on this husband, they no longer have income. So I found that this skill is also being able to empower them, regain their self-esteem, regain their their dignity also. And I've also got some children also who have been sent by their parents for me to train them in beading. My youngest students were 14 years and 12 years. I've also found that this is a good way of also distracting the young people from the social vices like prostitution and drug abuse. So they could use, during their spare time, they can use this skill, they can learn this skill and be doing this skill which is profitable to them rather than these social vices that are affecting a lot of youth here in South Africa. So anyway, 2 years after I started the bidding, that was when we were in the COVID, when the COVID pandemic hit. I also now started doing some what courses online, and I was also getting fascinated by just watching YouTube videos, training videos. I also then got very fascinated about hat making, but I found I could not really grasp the art from those videos. So at the end of 2020, I went to Zimbabwe on holiday. Then I met this lady who was already teaching people to make fascinator hats. So I enrolled with her and she taught me to make the hats. Then I came back to South Africa. When I came back to South Africa, and my children were now grown, finished their universities, their degrees, and they were now working. So I now could afford to at least focus on growing my business without the pressure of having a reliable income. So I left my job and I started focusing on growing my business. So that's what I've been doing this so far, trying to 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 train people to do bidding as well as to make the hats. So now my desire or my goal is to have a proper community center where I can impart these skills, have proper beading classes, even other classes as well, like blanket making, hand knitting, and so on. I saw this concept in Zimbabwe as I was growing up. There used to be community centers where people were, the ladies' clubs, where ladies were being taught these crafts, where my mother was also part of, and I also learned to do some of these crafts when I was still young, like knitting and sewing, cutting and designing when I was still in high school. So I think if I can have that, and I can then be able to help a lot of my fellow women and even the youth. And also, I'm also wanting to have, as part of that community center, a halfway house for victims of domestic violence, so that they can have a halfway house, a halfway home where they can reorganize themselves for a future life. So that's in a nutshell what I'm doing and what I'm desiring to do.
Fantastic. Wow, Lydia, you've done a lot in this last few years. What's
Yes.
fascinating
Wow.
is you've done this all in the middle of a pandemic as well.
Yes.
That's amazing.
It
So
is amazing.
I really love when you said that now that you had the skill, then you could turn and help others that are into drugs and prostitution find something else they can do instead. And that's such a wonderful thing to enable them to have an alternative to what they're doing.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
So your desire is to start a training center, correct?
Yes. A
Where
community
women,
center.
a community center. So it will be more
Yes.
than just people coming to be trained, but a place and a space where they can get support as well, correct?
Yes.
That's great.
And you're exporting of these products, you're sending products to Zimbabwe.
Yes. I've got a boutique that I'm supplying in Zimbabwe that is
Okay.
ordering my hats. Yes. So when
Okay.
they get clothes, they send me to say pictures of the clothes that they'll be having. Then they asked me to make benching hats.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yes. Then I'm also having one other boutique, which I'm also supplying here in South Africa. So I'm
Right.
supplying currently two boutiques, one in South Africa and one in Zimbabwe.
Well, after we talked last night, I remember that Melbourne is famous for the Melbourne Cup.
Oh,
Just go on Google and type
yes.
in Melbourne Cup hats. So people
Melbourne Cup.
compete. It's an annual event where they go to the horses, horse riding.
Oh, yeah, it's like Durban, July here in South Africa.
Yes. So
Yeah.
you could have a big market in Melbourne. So let's
Oh,
talk about that. Maybe
yes,
you could make a few creative pieces because it's very competitive and people are
yes.
looking for unusual hats. So maybe
Okay.
you could make a few samples that I could share with ladies here in Melbourne. It could create a very lucrative part of your business. I actually remembered it after we talked last night
Oh,
that this would be a good idea for the Melbourne Cup. The hats are a big thing here.
oh, thank you. Thank you.
Good
Yes,
idea.
certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly.
So we are excited that you have become a part of our movement, Lydia. We want to see how we can support you in all of your endeavors. Give
Thank
us the link to your website. Just put it in the private chat there so I can share it with the video.
Okay.
So that if there's anyone out there who's inspired to order, to take part in setting up your
Yes.
cooperative, they have a way of getting in touch with you.
Yes.
And what was the biggest challenge for you as an immigrant woman working in South Africa? I was there for 7 years, and I know that it's quite challenging when you are in a foreign country, although South Africa is so close to us, we are
Yes.
foreigners in that country. What were the
Yes.
hurdles you had to overcome to make this business successful?
I think the first and foremost thing is just to be accepted. Just
Yeah.
being accepted to say you are a foreigner, you are wanting to make money here. But when you then show and when you then, like I'm saying, when you start interacting with them, they sort of warm up to you.
Yeah. And especially
Yes,
if you're doing something in the community and you're helping the kids,
Right.
people really
yes,
appreciate when you're doing something in the community as well. So I think
yes,
this community center is really absolutely necessary. So you're giving back in the country where you're getting help to sustain yourself and live and make a living. I love
yes,
that. I absolutely love
yes,
that. So we
yes.
have a comment coming in from Sydney, Australia. Miriam, good morning.
Mm,
Lovely to see you there.
mm,
They're just popping in to wish everybody a happy final day of the amazing summit. Thank you, Miriam. We've had a lot of fun. We made it to day 31, so it's a real celebration for us today. Wonderful to see you there online.
yes.
So, Lydia, before we let you go, is there anything else that we can do as women to support you?
I think just giving me the exposure, like you are saying,
Yeah,
that will be very important to me. And like I'm saying, if currently I've been holding back on trying to expose myself too much because of lack of capacity. But
right.
if I can be assisted to increase my capacity, if I establish this, have this community center, I can have more ladies doing the products so that we can be able to supply to meet the demand.
Okay. So you need an injection of cash. You need an investor to come in and invest so you
Yes,
can bring on more people. And yeah, okay.
yes. Then
No,
the
that's good.
exposure, so we can have way more market for our products.
Okay. Fantastic. So hopefully people will go onto your website and see some of your amazing work and get in touch with you. We want to stay in touch and see how we can support you along the way as well. Miriam, thank you. Yes, I look fresh as a daisy and energized today because it's the last day.
It's been a month of hard work.
Oh, it's been a month of hard work for sure. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Lydia. I know it's late there. You're welcome to stay with us and listen to the other speakers, but if you need to go to sleep, I totally understand. I was just so happy you were able
No,
to make it and be with us
I'll be
today.
happy to stay a bit. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's
Bye.
absolutely wonderful. Energized by purpose. Yes. Thank you, Lydia.
All right.
So we'll go on to our next speaker. Oh, Miriam is really on a roll today. Dedication on fire. Our next speaker is coming in from the Philippines. This is a young woman that I met through LinkedIn when I was looking for assistance. She specializes in helping people with social media, getting yourself search engine optimizers. Her name is Valerie Fisher, and she is an NLP and digital marketing strategist who help people online. She says entrepreneurs win the selling game when they work with me. So Valerie, thank you for your video presentation. I know you couldn't be with us because it's really late there. So the Philippines is about 5 hours behind New Zealand, so probably 8 hours behind Australia. So she sent in her video, and we're really happy that you're here with us in spirit, sharing your amazing story. So before I share the video, let me see if I can do it from here. Share video. Yep, I can. Here we go. It's taking its time. Try that one more time.
We need to talk. What do those 4 words make you feel? Confused, anxious, scared? My boss, my former boss, sent me that message April 4 of 2020 after I refused to stay in the house that she rented for her employees. Now remember, this was at the start of the pandemic, and she wanted to gather everyone inside a house so that we would continue working. Remember, at those times, that was one of the most, the scariest time in the world. It was just the start of the pandemic, and we were uncertain. We didn't know what was going to happen. And we wanted, I don't know about you, but I wanted to be with my family. And she didn't want that for us. So I refused. April 4 of 2020, we talked. She said, this is what I expect from you as a chief marketing officer. You have to continue working. I believe strongly in remote work, and I told her that we can sell online. This was real estate, and I truly believe that we can sell our properties online. I quit. She fired me. 2 years after, I am thriving. That unfortunate incident led me to my purpose. Now, that was my dream job. But losing that, okay, there is magic. There's a gift in adversity. Losing that led me to my purpose. It's embarrassing. I have to admit, it was embarrassing. I hid. Good thing we were not allowed to go out and see people. But I almost deactivated my Facebook account. I wasn't messaging. I wasn't doing anything. I was just hiding at home, recuperating, recovering, maybe identifying what would be my next steps, because I was scared. I mean, what's going to happen to my family if we get sick? I didn't have a job. I didn't have a source of income. It was embarrassing and it was really scary. But I went through it. You have to go through the feelings of the embarrassment, of the fear, of everything. I cried. You have to go through those feelings. And along with going through those feelings, I identified the things that I have done in the past. What were my accomplishments? What did I do? What do I have? What can I offer the world? I knew it was going to be difficult to look for a job, especially for a CMO position. So I identified, I took out my notebook, I wrote down, this is not, mind you, these are not the job titles. These are the things that I did in the past that gave me joy, the things that I knew I was good at. So I wrote them down. I realized I have so much. I have accomplished a lot in the 20 years that I have been in the corporate world. So I noted down neuro-linguistic programming because I'm a certified NLP practitioner. I have more than 20 years experience in advertising and marketing. Advertising, I was an account executive. I managed clients. I did a lot of sales calls and actual selling of ideas. I wrote presentations. I created presentations. I pitched, presented. And even in the marketing, in the marketing world, I did events, I did branding, I did PR, all of those. I also co-founded an e-commerce site, okay, for locally made products, for things like these, for like my earrings. So I wrote that down also. I was already 39 when I did that, when I co-founded that site. So I wrote them all down. And I realized that no one, at least that I know of, has actually claimed that spot, that sweet spot where you can use NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, digital marketing, advertising, and online selling as a tool. So that's when I realized this is my gift. This is the superhero costume that has been waiting for me to put on. This is something that I can share, and that made me unique. Okay, so what did I do? I came up, I wrote them down, I wrote them all down. The brain science selling, eventually, that was what I trademarked it, but it did not come easily. That was months after, when I put them all together. But what I'm saying is, it's already within you. And that was how I started my brand. That was how I started putting myself out again. Initially, I was not ready to tell the world that I lost a job. I did not want to face the shame and the embarrassment of people knowing that I failed. That was a failure. But that failure led me to discovering my true purpose. Brain science selling, this gift that I have, inspiring better minds. That failure led me to 11, as of last count, 11 conferences and summits where I spoke. I wrote 28 articles, wrote and featured. So these are all featured articles about my story and about the things that I teach people. And I was interviewed. I was actually interviewed on an Australian news streaming channel about transitioning from adversity, because I was able to pivot immediately. So that was April 4. Remember, April 4 was when I lost that job. But come April 23, I was already starting to take on clients for my training business immediately. And I know that I'm very lucky. I acknowledge the fact that I am very fortunate to have been able to pivot so quickly and immediately earn income from this business. I acknowledge that. But that also comes with the acknowledgement that I have been doing this in the past. The things that I am sharing, the information, the knowledge, the skills that I teach people are things that I have, gotten from previous experiences. So I'm not an overnight success. This is more than 20 years. My gift, and I think that what you should do, should you also be in that situation where you lose a job, or you lose your business, you lose your clients, you remember that everything, your gift is already within you. All you need to do is to dig deep. Okay? And this is something that I teach because I have a program, a small group coaching program. This is something that I teach my mentees, especially on their first day. That's true. The exercise that I did, I share that. I share that with you because that is personal. That's exactly what I did. So take your notebook and write down. This is your assignment. So whoever is watching this today, please know that this is true, and this is the beginning of your brand. Some people, you say, gurus and marketers and business owners, they will tell you, be authentic, get it from your experience, you share, be honest. But how do you exactly do that? And so what I'm going to share with you is exactly how to do that. So take your notebook, write down the things you have done in the past, as far back as you can remember, as early, as young as, if you can remember when you were 5, when you were 6. When I did this exercise, I remember there was a memory that came out that I was actually, I taught a 7-year-old boy. When I was 12, I tutored him. And that memory came out when I was writing all of these things. And so I asked my dad to confirm, because I wasn't sure, that was a new memory for me, or it, something that just came out. And he said, yes, it's true. And I wrote that down. I remember selling candy when I was in grade 3. That's sales. So tutoring, teaching, mentoring, and sales has been with me ever since I was 9 or 10 years old. But I just forgot, because, there were things that we had to do as adults, and there were things that we feel we have to accomplish according to society's expectations of us. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. That's what I want you to do. That's the exercise that I want you to do, because that helped me. And when I did that, I realized that was the start of my brand. You talk about those things. You claim those things. You make it an ammunition. Because sometimes when, for example, if I did not want to talk about how we were poor before and how I was selling as a kid to my classmates, other people might be able to use that against me. But because I used it as a power, as an ammunition. I used it for me. It benefited me. And now people, you can't really hurt me with when you say I come from a poor family, because I use that to my advantage. As early I was as 10 years old, I was selling. And so that's my my suggestion, and that is my assignment for you for today. So whenever you face an adversity like that, you go deep into yourself, you write them down, because what is written is what is remembered. Our brain remembers when we write. Okay, so what else did I do? So I did that. I also asked, so that number one, I also asked people around me how I make them feel, so that you know how to position yourself. Are you fun? Are you more of an advisor to people? Are you are you ambitious? Do people look up to you for inspiration because you're excellent, because you are driven? Ask people around you how you make them feel, and you include that in your branding. You make it work for you. Okay, you make it work for you. And so that's it. That rejection actually it became a redirection, a fabulous redirection of my life. And I am thriving immediately. In the first 3 months of my business, I was able to triple my income. Okay, and it's all because of that. It's all because I dug deep into myself and faced my memories, my old memories. In an NLP, we call this meta questions. We delete, distort, and generalize information as we go along, depending on how it benefits us. And so those memories that were deleted, that were generalized, that were distorted, I dug them all back and used them to my advantage. I remember this story. I don't know who actually told this story about, if you know, what do you guys know what a musk deer is? So this musk deer, it smells something that it cannot, it's attracted to. So it goes everywhere, walks for miles. And sometimes it doesn't drink, sometimes it doesn't eat. It just walks for miles looking for that scent that it smells. It smells it. It's intoxicating, that intoxicating smell. And sometimes it dies in ravines. They fall into ravines. They sometimes die of hunger and thirst, looking for that smell. You know where the smell is coming from? Smell is coming from them. It's their smell. So the thing that we are attracted to, the thing that gift, that thing that we want in life, it is actually within us. It is actually already in you. Okay, so I hope that you learned something from my short talk today. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Valerie Fisher, and you can find me at www.valeriefisher.net. I am a brain-based digital marketing specialist or strategist. I'm also a coach consultant, a speaker, a trainer, an international Amazon best-selling author, and I host the podcast Changemakers with Valerie Fisher. Thank you.
Wow, Valerie, thank you so much. An amazing presentation from the Philippines. What I love about Valerie's story is she managed to turn a bad situation into something positive.
Yes.
She was being pressured to stay at work during the pandemic. It was frightening. It wasn't easy to do that. And she opted out of going to work day by day and looking after her family instead. And now she's created a business and earning 3 times as much as she was earning before. So I think if her boss had listened to her, their business might have gone a little bit further because she is an expert at selling things online. So she's actually going to be helping us with some of our social media now. Valerie, it was good to have you with us. Jerry, what was your take on her presentation?
Well, besides the fact that she's got just an absolutely infectious energy, she's amazing. I mean, so I can't even imagine a boss saying to you have to live in this house, forget your family. You have to live here because I don't want my business to go down. That's not even realistic.
No.
So of course she did the right thing, and she just took the bank. I mean, when she was talking about the things she did as a child, it was bringing back some great memories for me. When I was 10 years old, I think it was, I was the #1 Girl Scout cookie seller in the world. 1 year. I sold so many Girl Scout cookies.
I love that.
I don't consider myself a great salesperson. I just happen to find the right place to sell it. And that really is a big thing, is finding, if you have a really good product and you don't know where to sell it, you're not going to sell it.
That's true. That's very true.
So she's just, I'm glad to see she's got her businesses and everything, and that she's going to be helping us with
Thriving. She's thriving more than ever. Lydia, what was your take on that presentation?
Yeah, very impressive. And also, she is just, you would be embarrassed to say I come from a poor family. But for her, she has just taught us that it's a strength, actually.
Yeah.
Turn it around.
True.
Yeah.
It's true. And she owned her story.
Yes.
That's what I love about her. You know, in the telling of our stories, if you own it, nobody can use it against you.
Right.
She owned her story, and that's just such a beautiful thing to remind all of us why we're telling these stories. You know, I grew up in Rhodesia before Zimbabwe had independence, and I was one of the first Black children in the most expensive private school in Harare called the Dominican Convent. My mother used to sell doilies. So from the age of 6, Mom taught me how to knit, how to sew, how to crochet. And we had to cross the racial line. We lived in a Black neighborhood. We'd go to all the white neighborhoods to sell our goods. And I remember one day we had walked the whole day. We hadn't sold anything. We used to travel on a bicycle. So Mom would have a big basket of things on the front. I would be on the back of the bike. I'm thirsty. I'm like, Mom, let's just go home. And she stopped the bike in the middle of the road and she looked me in the eyes and said, you need to remember 2 things when you sell. People can say yes or they can say no. If they say yes, you make your sale. If they say no, knock on the next door. That's where the sale is. And like a miracle, we knocked on the next door and it was a beautiful house. I'll never forget it. It had these big white colonial pillars on the front. And the lady of the house opened the door, which was very unusual because in Africa, most people have domestic servants. So this white lady came to the door, opened it, and she must have seen my face. She must have seen I was thirsty and hungry. And she invited us into her home. And I'd never been in a white person's house before. The first thing she did is she put me on a chair and she went to the kitchen and came back with a slice of cake and a glass of juice. I still remember the piece of cake.
Every detail.
55, I have never forgotten that piece of cake. And she started talking to my mother and she said, why are you selling? And my mom said, my girls go to the Dominican convent. So she was a bit surprised. There weren't many Black kids in that school. And she said, why? Why don't you send them to the township school with all the other African children? And my mom said, because my girls need a good education. If they're educated, they will get out of poverty. That woman bought everything in my mother's basket, not because she needed it, but she realized why my mother was doing what she was doing. And when we were walking home, my mother gave me another lesson. She said, there's 2 kinds of people in the world, good people and bad people. That woman is a good person. So don't ever judge anyone before you know who they are. Let people show up. So when you go into the world with an open eye, you can be friends with anyone. And I mean, we lived in a racist environment. But my mother could sell snow to the Eskimos. She would sell you the dress you're wearing if you weren't careful. I wrote a whole chapter about my mother and how she could sell. And she infused that in me. And people buy from people they like, you know? You have to build those relationships. You have to have rapport with people when you're selling. And when I used to sell in the craft markets, Lydia, in Cape Town, I paid my way through university selling jewelry, clothing, batik in the craft markets of Cape Town. And there would be 500 people selling the same product. But people would buy from me because I'd be talking to them and joking. And, you know, people used to think I had some kind of medicine.
Magic.
Some kind of magic. And the magic was just being charming and personable and not just wanting to take their money, but finding out which country they're from, because there were a lot of tourists who would come. And then I remember I used to sell soapstone, Lydia. So you'll relate to this. So Jerry soapstone are these Zimbabwean sculptures, and they're big pieces of rock. We're talking about 100 pounds of stone. I was so lean and fit from carrying soapstone. So I would go to this market, and then I discovered that all of the tourists liked the sculptures, but because they were traveling, they didn't want to pay excess baggage, you know, when they buy a big piece of rock. So I went back home to Kwekwe, and I sat with the guys who do the carving, and I asked them to make miniatures, tiny versions of the hippos, the elephants, the giraffes, and I would sell out. And people didn't understand why these Europeans were buying my small little pieces and not the big rocks. You know, I could sell a tiny piece for 100 Rand, and somebody's trying to sell 20 kgs of stone for 200 Rand, and they would buy my 100 Rand pieces. And it was because they didn't have to pay excess baggage. They still got to take a representation of that sculpture home. And everybody was saying, what is this woman doing? What kind of magic does she have? And the magic was just understanding that
was strategy.
Yeah.
Strategy, exactly. I made so much money in Cape Town. It was just amazing. So much fun. So Valerie really came to remind us of that. If anybody wants to get hold of her, her website is playing at the bottom of the screen.
Okay.
So now we're going to go to South Africa again. This is one of Vidashni's people, Jerry. We watched a couple of their videos yesterday. I found one that I had left out by mistake. And I'm not even going to try and attempt to say her name, but I think it's Golo Taswani. I'll let her introduce herself through the video in case I have butchered her name. She's got a Xhosa name with an X in it, and every time I try and pronounce the Xhosa names, I make a mistake. So here we go. Thank you again, Vidashni, for all of the women that you have introduced us to. It's very, very inspiring to hear their stories.
Sure is.
Where is the video? Let me see. Here we go.
My name is Nicole. I'm from Orange Farm in Joburg South. Orange Farm is an informal settlement. What I'm doing there, I'm a foster parent who's looking after 18 children who I'm accommodated them in my place. Other thing that I'm doing there, I've got a I've got an aftercare school, which is I'm assisting kids. About 78 kids. We are assisting them with their homeworks and also feeding them. All those kids I'm talking about are the kids who are orphans, maltreated, neglected, abused, and abandoned. Others are homeless kids. The reason why we are doing this, the community I'm staying, most of the kids are child-headed kids. Most of them are orphans. So I'm there, I'm helping them in order to make sure that they get food, they got clothes, they also get love and happiness. That's the main thing. I've got a passion of loving kids. From 1986, this is the only job that I've done from 1986. I've started a crash in Sweetwater Squatter Camp, which is also an informal settlement. But we moved to Orange Farm in 1989. I continue with this job. So this job, when I started, I was one teacher. I was a teacher, which is, I was started with 22 children. All those children were loitering around the street because when their parents are at work, there's no one who was looking after them. So this is the only job that I know. It's only the child and nothing else that I know. What I can say to you, the main thing that I can tell you, by God's power, I've managed to get a place that in that place, God helped me to build some structure. But the structure is not finished, but we all stay there. At present moment, as I'm talking with you, the kids that I'm staying with them now, and I'm accommodated them in my house. As I said, there are 18, 19 is such, not 18, because the last one, she has 8 months old. So in this case, the thing that it helps me a lot in order to manage in that yard, because at least it's a huge yard, I've managed to take one of the classes and hired it. That class I hired for the Universal Church. So those are the people who gave me some money so that I can buy something for them. Most of those kids are sending by the social workers, but the problem that I've got, whoa, most of it, they delay with everything. You will notice that those kids, they don't have the birth certificate for the situation that they came from. There are other mothers of them, they are already passed away, most of them. Others, those are the ones who throw them away. So those are the kids that I'm looking after. So sometimes, at present moment, the only kids that I've managed to get something with them, there are only 6 in that 19 I'm talking about. Only 6 kids that the state gave me something to help them. The other money, it's helped me to feed them, is the money that I get from the church that I hired in my place. So we are, I can't say I'm suffering because we eat every day and we share what we've got with those kids that are the kids from our communities, which they came after school. So those are the ones that I'm helping them. We are assisting them by with the homeworks. The reason why you are doing that, there's no one who's looking after these kids since they don't have parents. And we need to encourage them because the only key that they can get is the education. And we are trying to share the love that they need. Because without happiness, without food, without love, they can become something else. We are trying to stimulate them. We are trying to change their mind system so that they can know that there are people who are looking after them. There are people who do everything for them. The main thing that I can tell you, this person who stayed next to me at present moment, she's the one that when we are crying, she hears our voice. She knows that she can help us. She's trying to help us with food. It's summer now. It's winter now. She always, when it's winter, she tried by all means to make sure that there is something that they can wear. There are shoes that they can wear shoes like any other kid. They've got beds. Yes, it's not enough because our place is a little bit huge. But we are pressing in what we've got. All those beds. She's trying to collect where, I don't know where she's collecting, but when you've got something, she knows that we are the ones that we need these kids, these things. She knows that we need to get toys, we need to get books, we need to get anything that it needs by the child. So we are relying on her. Sometimes it's so difficult to tell her that yes, I've got a problem because I also have the kids that are traveling. The kids that they don't start doing the vernacular, which is so difficult for me to take those kids and put and take it to our local schools. I don't know what to do, but by God's power, I've managed. Sometimes I give, since they are going 3 times for the 3 times or 4 times at school, so I've managed now. Okay, take this and go with this. Sometimes they don't go to school because I don't have money for their traveling. So at the same time, I don't know what to do at that time because I've been trying, but so that I know that you've got a lot of load in her head, because as a woman who's suffering, and we know that she's the only one who can do this, it's so difficult to tell her everything. Yes, we've been trying, as I'm trying to sell some things at home so that I can generate what I've got, so that they can manage to do things like coals. I'm trying to sell coals at home so that I can manage to generate what I've got, so that they can manage to get what I don't have. If you don't have, because you won't have everything when we want it, as he asks from other people, even because he's not working. So I don't know what to say, but there are so many things. But I've been trying. to do all my best. And as I said to you, God help me with that yard, and also we erect those buildings, whereas we've got a problem of complying, because there's a lot that they need in order to comply. The only thing that they need to me in order to comply at the present moment, they need an entertaining room, which is I don't have it. I don't have TVs for these kids. I don't have an entertaining room. I don't have a sick bay. I don't have a huge kitchen, because those kids are so many. And I'm talking about the kids from the community. And as other kids, they know that there are so many kids that I've been helping them. They always stay in my gate and ask something. When I dish up for other kids, the other kids were waiting, and we need to share what I dish up for those kids, so that I can't just leave them like that. So it's so difficult even to get those food. It's not something easy. If she didn't give us and the lunch box didn't give something, that by that moment it's so tough for us. So we need to collect what we are selling so that we can buy something in order to eat. So those are there's nothing that I can say. There's a lot. It will be tomorrow saying all. So this is what I can say to you. Thank you.
Gosh, I'm speechless. I'm just, you are all angels and you're doing such amazing work, and it's it's really almost unimaginable what you're telling us, and I think it's yeah, I just think it's incredible that you are still, with so very little, you are still sharing that with everybody else, and it's such an amazing example. You know, we I don't think I can even begin to imagine how that must feel, and I just want to really honor and celebrate you and say thank you for every soul, every child that you help every day. Oh, I think we should take deep breaths, everybody. Let's take 3 deep breaths. Fill up those bellies. Deep breath in. Second breath. Third one.
I wanted to say that in Africa, we've got a saying that it takes a village to raise a child. And these women and Videshni and your team, you've just come out to support that saying that it's everybody's child. That's our attitude in Africa. A child belongs to everyone, and what's amazing with the work you are doing, it's in the different areas. You're working with the single mothers. You're working with those on the streets who are doing drugs. You're working with Mokolo is working with kids just to assist them with homework, because that's important. Otherwise, they will just play the whole day without that assistance. So it's amazing that if we look at it together, the goal, the aim, the desire is to raise a wholesome child, a child who feels loved, who feels he deserves help, who feels heard, that they are listened to, and
they ask for help and the help is given. They are not turned away. They are not being rejected. And I can't thank you enough for the work that you are doing with these women in these communities. Thank you for holding that space. And like Gertrude said, this is our hearts. This is what we do. We love such stories. We love such projects, and we support that because this is who we are. This is our hearts. This is what we've always been pushing for. Let children be children, and let adults just come in and children, mother or father or parent these children, guide them, give them what they need to, so that they blossom, they flourish as children to become better adults. So thank you, Videshne, with your team. Thank you so much for the work you are doing. Thank you for holding that space in South Africa, and amazing work that you are doing. Thank you so much.
Isi Nokolo. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Kunjani sis? Xhosa kancinci. I lived in Cape Town. My Xhosa is terrible. But what I am going to say is, in Shona, we say nzo ayiremerwe nenyanga dzayo, which means in English, an elephant does not strain when carrying its ears. You were born with greatness in you. You were born with a heart that sees. There are people who live in their homes who walk past these children every day. There are people who go to sleep without even a conscience of what's happening in their communities. And there are those of us who have been chosen to do this work. What you need to know is that you ladies are not alone. We are with you. We will be the wind beneath your wings so you can fly. Don't despair. Don't give up. Because that seed that God put in your heart was put there for a reason. Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, those stories always hit me in the gut. Doesn't matter how many times we listen to them, it's such a reminder. Orange Farm is on the outskirts of Johannesburg. It's an informal settlement. It's a squatter camp. There's no real housing. It's just shacks. And this woman fosters 18 children, does after school care and homework sessions with 78 kids, and is trying to feed them, and just an incredible human being.
That is amazing. You could tell also how humble she is, and how she gives with her full heart. And if she could give her body I mean, like trade her life for these children having a full life, I believe she would.
Yeah.
She was.
I think she's already done that, Jerry. Just the sacrifice she's
true.
Looking after children who aren't hers. Lydia, you're in Johannesburg. What is the situation with street kids? Is there a social welfare system? Have things changed?
Yeah, they haven't changed, and I think it's actually getting worse because of the drugs problem, and also the government just cannot cope.
There's too many kids.
There's too many kids, and some of the kids, like, they just run away from the home. It's difficult to manage them.
Very, very sad situation.
Yeah.
Very, very sad indeed.
Oh gosh. Okay. So we're going to move on to something a little bit lighter now, just to lift the spirit. We have a presentation by Diane Allen, who is based in Bend, Oregon, USA. She's a keynote speaker. She's a musician. She works with creating teams who feel whole and fulfilled in their work. Diane has graced us with her presence several times, and what I always love about her presentation is that she comes in with music. So we will listen to her playing her violin before we talk about her work. She's a very creative woman in the sense that, oh, actually, I need to play one more video while we're waiting for Diane. I thought that video was ready. Okay, so we'll start with Suhani Vaidya, who is based in Perth, Australia. She's a leadership coach, empowering women leaders to accelerate in their professions and life and live the life they love. Then we'll go on to Diana from there. Diana's video wasn't quite ready, so here we go. Okay.
I'd like to share a story of a little lioness. I was about 6 years old, holding a glass of milk in my hand, all dressed up, ready to go to school, and my parents were in a rush to go to work. All of a sudden, I dropped that glass of milk. Milk was all on the floor. I was frightened. I knew I was going to get smacked. What I didn't know is that event would set up a chain of events that would shape my future. It would create a belief that would limit me in the future. I'd love to share more about that story. For now, let's fast forward to 2011. I was born and raised in India. In 2011, I got married and moved to Australia. I was so excited, starting a whole new chapter in my life. I was excited at the same time nervous. I didn't know anyone but my husband, but I was so excited to a whole new adventure. So I came here to Perth, Western Australia, and without much struggle, I found my first job. It was in a beautiful small recruitment company. I was so excited and so pumped. So in the beginning, it was fantastic. I used to walk in and everyone used to speak their lingo, and I tried really hard to fit in. And people said things like, "I'll see you this Arvo." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then I would go off and Google what that meant. Slowly, I tried to fit in. And I remember this incident. In the beginning, my boss was really friendly and very loving and caring. But slowly I started seeing a different side to her. One moment she would say, "How was your weekend?" And then the next moment she would just snap for no reason. I'm not talking about discrimination here. And it was not just because I was Indian. It was her nature. She did that with everybody. In the beginning, I used to smile, but I used to get scared. Slowly, I started losing my confidence. Out of fear, I stopped speaking up at work. I clearly remember walking out of the office, standing close to the bus station. I was looking at people and smiling, but inside, I was feeling so lost, stuck, and powerless. As I left that bus station and went right in front of the train station. I remember it was a crowded evening. There were so many people outside. The train doors opened. I was literally pushed into the train because of the crowd. I was standing by the pole, holding the pole, looking at people around me. Tears were rolling down my eyes. I was surrounded with so many people, but I felt so lonely. People were looking at me. I was thinking in my head, what is it? Is something wrong with me? Is it me? Are they judging me? Or is it my curly hair? Jokes apart, I felt with so many people surrounded by me, I felt I was sitting in a corner, all crawled up, in a dark room, having no hope whatsoever. I had so much of fear within me, and I'd lost all my confidence. I resigned that job. I promised myself I'm never going to let this happen again, and moved on to my next role. Guess what? New job, different boss, same story. It just got worse. The belittling comments, the offensive behavior from my previous boss, it just got worse to this one. The gaslighting, I felt like I'm constantly walking on eggshells. I didn't know when the next bomb is going to drop. I remember with my next job, in the beginning, it was great. And as all these things started piling up and it getting worse, it hit my confidence big time. I remember it was around Christmas time. I came home from a really exhausting day from work, giving my 120% at work. So tired. I walked into the house and where my husband and my daughter were playing in the pool. They were having so much fun. I remember walking down the pool, standing in front of them, looking at them, looking through them. My mind was completely blank and I was filled with fear and anxiety. Thoughts were running 1,000,000 miles an hour. And my trust, I wouldn't even trust my own shadow. I had so much, I felt so insecure and unsafe. I didn't feel I could speak to anyone. I felt that the whole world was against me. You know, sometimes in life, the situation keeps repeating itself until you learn the lesson. Remember that little girl, little lioness? That milk incident was a defining moment for me. I was scared of making mistakes because I believed if I make mistakes, I'm a failure and I won't be loved and liked. And mind you, this is not a conscious thought you run. 10% of what comes out is from your conscious mind. 90% is in your subconscious mind. So when this incident occurred again of being, because of the feelings I felt, I knew there was something that had to change, and that something had to be within me. And that's when I started on my own healing journey. And when I got coached, I realized the relationship I had with mistakes. I changed that. Making mistakes is how I learn and grow. At work, I started accepting when I made mistakes. And I started owning it. I started taking my power back. If somebody came in and tried to intimidate me or use those tricks, what they did in the past, it wouldn't work on me anymore. Because I knew where it was coming from, my internal world. And I was on this journey to have my own back. So I started, if people questioned or pointed out of me making mistakes, I investigated it, I questioned it, I went to the root cause of problems. And I realized that the systems and the way we were doing things could be improved, could be changed. It was no longer on me. It was more about improving the systems and procedures at work. Things started getting better. As things started progressing, I was slowly gaining confidence. And then things started going downhill again. I worked part-time, doing a full-time job. The relationship between my boss and I was really not okay. And it got to a point where I had to speak up. So I spoke to my HR and I wanted to raise a complaint. But the fear felt so real. I would rather resign the job and run away than speak up. I remember walking out of the office, standing below a tree, trying to write an email, raising my concerns about my manager. It took me 4 hours to raise my concerns, and I don't even think I made any sense when I look back at it. The day arrived when I had to meet my manager. I would rather resign than speak up. Fear felt so real, so real. I felt I was going to die if I speak my truth. I took the courage with help of another coach, and I spoke my truth. And this time, I addressed the problems. I came up with solutions on how this can be resolved, so this doesn't happen again to other employees. When I spoke up, I was in shock. I realized that fear is illusional. It's not true. I was so proud of myself. So freaking proud of myself. And then I started studying coaching about human behavior, about healing, about the human mind, about how things work, nervous system. The more I learned, the more aha moments I had. When I did my personality test, I realized my strength is in, I'm a people's person, and I was doing a process-oriented job. No wonder I felt drained every time I got home. One thing I want to share. This is a quote by Einstein. Everyone is a genius. Every single person is a genius. But if you judge the fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. I realized I was a genius. I just didn't know what I was good at. That made all the sense. Me doing me doing a job which was process driven used to drain me out. Because what I was good at is people, is building relationship, is connection with people, getting things done, coming from a place of heart, helping others. I was doing a job which was to do with computers. Then I realized it was time for me to move on. I resigned, middle of pandemic, not having a backup plan. I truly wanted to help and heal that Suhani who felt stuck, powerless, and lonely in that situation. I wanted to help her. I've done so much of my inner work on myself, so much at this point of time. And I thought I'd nailed it. Then I went to one of the speakers' training. That's when I remembered why I had this relationship of making mistakes, why I had this passion, this belief about me that I am a mistake, that it's my fault, and why I was pleasing, I was a people pleaser, and I was scared so much of authority. It all came true. It wasn't the milk. It wasn't the rest of the events. It was the abuse. when I was a child. Things happened to me which was not okay by someone who I trusted so deeply. What could I do? How could I trust anyone else? I thought I was at fault. I thought I was the mistake. This really hit me with a ton of bricks. This made me realize where my fear of speaking up was coming from. Why my self-esteem was out of the window. And why I felt like I was so scared of authorities. And then I got the courage and spoke my truth. I looked into this person's eye and I said, what you did was not okay. I can never forget that day. No wonder I felt all those things at work and with people. Me speaking my truth, me letting that person know that it wasn't okay, was the biggest fear I've overcome. And I'm so grateful to all the people in my journey who've helped me do that. More importantly, I have forgiven myself and that person for what happened in my life. This is my journey from being powerless to being an influencer, to influence my own thinking, to influence my own being, to influence who I am and what I want to be today in this world. I would love to leave this with you. My message is everyone has the right to feel safe. Feeling safe is an inside-out job. Yes, things happen. People do things. Yes, it's not okay. But you know what? Everyone, no matter how painful your past is, you can heal from the past. You can choose a new story. You can decide that you, my friend, are in control to write a whole new future. Build a limitless life of potential. Be bold, be brave, be unapologetically you.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Powerful presentation. Share, hi. Wonderful to have you with us this morning. How are you keeping? I can't quite hear you. Can you hear her, Jerry?
No, I'm getting a lot of static.
Hmm. Are you on your phone or your computer?
On my computer.
Okay, yeah, something's wrong with your sound.
When you go out and come back in, share.
Yeah, that might work. So, Suhani, thank you for your presentation. You talk about the courage to speak up. That's what the HerStory movement is all about. Really learning to work in your lane. So you were under a lot of stress.
How about now?
Back?
Can you hear me now?
It's better.
Better, but it's not
It's
there.
still a bit of static, but we can hear you.
Let's go to the part.
It feels like you have the wind blowing past you. Do you have a fan on?
Not at all.
If you have a headset, maybe get some earphones. That might help. Okay. The other thing I got from Suhani's presentation, she said you can choose a new story. And you're in control to write a whole new story of your life. I think that's really impactful. We have the choice to change our lives at any point, at any time. So the choice is always ours. Thank you so much, Suhani. That was a great presentation. It's a pity you couldn't be with us today. The interesting thing, Jerry, as I was lining up the next video, I couldn't find Diana's bio. So I went on LinkedIn and she noticed that I had gone onto her profile and she reached out to me straight away. So she's going to join us in person.
Nice.
In 30 minutes time. I told her we've still got Share to go, and then she will join us in person.
Okay, that's good. And I just got a message from Darren. He says he's not being able, he was going to try and come on, but he's going to try and do it on his computer because the link I sent him doesn't work on his phone.
All right.
So he's going to work on that.
Yeah, just tell him that he needs Google Chrome if he's having issues.
Okay, let me tell him.
The web browser should be Google Chrome. StreamYard likes Chrome. So we're just waiting for Shea to sort out the sound on her voice. And then Jerry will introduce her. For those of you who haven't met her before, she's Jerry's daughter. So it's really exciting for us to have her with us again.
Yes, very exciting. Can you hear us, Cher?
And a lot has happened since we last saw you.
Yes. Ooh, we still have a lot of static.
Okay, yeah. It's so strange.
Well,
maybe try and come in on your phone. If you have your phone nearby, you might get better sound because there's really, it sounds like you're in a wind tunnel.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Same problem.
Okay. Let me go out and I'll go on my computer.
Yeah, I think your phone might be the best. The thing with technology, right?
That's my grandson-in-law, Trent. Hi, Trent. He's trying to cover with it.
So. Technology is great when it works, when it doesn't.
Can you hear us clearly, Cher?
Because what she could do is come in on her phone, and we use the phone for audio, and you keep the video. Oh, she's gone.
Yeah, she'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
Trent will get her. He's our techie. He's my granddaughter's husband.
That's awesome.
So as soon as she comes on, I'll read her bio. She sent it to me.
Oh, good. Excellent.
So, yeah.
Okay, she's back. Let's see if that's going to work.
Aha.
Okay, how about now? Yay! Okay.
Yay!
What a bummer.
Yeah.
I guess I need to get a new computer because that one's clearly not working well, but that's okay. You guys are just so tiny. But that's okay. So thank you for having me. I kind of missed. Have I been introduced? Am I ready to roll? Or?
Not yet. Mom's going to introduce you, but it's lovely to see you, and congratulations
it's good to see you guys.
on getting married.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
So I will read it. My journey in life has not been without challenges, but whose has? My experiences have made me who I am today. My personality is to find the good in everything. Sometimes that is hard to do when the trial is right in front of you. I have not been perfect at it, but the possibilities has brought me out of a lot of dark places and helped me to have peace amongst the hard times. It has been what allowed me to feel good even though times are tough. It is a mindset, a way of thinking that I believe we all have within us the ability to do. It has come with great deal of assistance, the support from loved ones, direction from personal life coaches, from spiritual guidance, self-reflection, and motivation with a clear view of my goals. My desire is that my short time speaking to individuals and sharing my life with them, it will cause them to walk away today with one or even better, more ideas to get started today in bettering their lives. All the talk in the world does no good unless it motivates change today. Also, I'd like to tell you that Cher is my daughter, and she is soon to be a first-time grandmother, which makes me great grandma, and we're both pretty excited about it. So I'll let
Absolutely.
And without further ado, Cher Matchin, please share your story.
Yes. Well, thanks for being patient with the technical difficulties today. Such a bummer. Have to work on that for the future. So last time I was with everybody, I was barely married, just a newlywed, second time marriage. My family grew double pretty much. 4 new children were added to my children, and then also their significant others. So between my husband and I, it was 13 of us. So it's a big crowd that we have. And it just seems to continue to grow with now a grandbaby on the way, which will be super fun. So right now we're calling it 13.5 because it's a half a baby. But today I wanted to kind of talk about and give an update. Last time I talked about dream boards, and I had a dream board that I showed, some of the things that had come to life through that dream board. And then today I'm going to show my current dream board and kind of give a report on how I did with the last dream board. One of the things on it was that I was going to write a book, and the motivation has been real. I have absolutely loved writing a book. I took a whole course that was about 6 months to learn how to write a book, completed it. I submitted it yesterday, so in the next week it will be completely available for sale, and I plan on buying them and selling them and having a launch. But that took me a lot longer than I thought. I thought I would launch it in December, but every time I went to go do it, there was something small about it that I wanted to change. And so I had to give myself that permission to say, nope, it's not what you want. You got to keep going. So that's kind of part of my talk today, is the stress that I kind of experienced trying to get that book published and get it done. I knew for a long time what I wanted to do. It's just when I went to go put it on paper, it was so difficult. It was a lot harder than I thought. But it was absolutely worth it. So it is technically in the publishing arena. So it is definitely done. I don't have to do any more on it. And I'm not going to lie, up until the very last minute, I was making new covers for it and making last minute changes. But the product that I put out is absolutely what I wanted. And had I just done it at the end of the year and said, well, I made a goal and I have to get my goal done, it wouldn't be the product that I wanted it to be. So I'm glad that I gave it that extra 3 months to really give it some extra love, if you will. So it is called Why Not Now? 30 Challenges for a Better You. And what it's about is basically I would like people to do it in 30 days, one challenge a day. And some of them are pretty simple. A lot of them even go along with some things that I've already heard today. Forgiveness. One of the days is about forgiving people and yourself. And then there's also, so each page has it's kind of a memoir. It has some stories or some experiences or some thoughts of mine. And then the next page is all journalizing. And I prompted it with some questions. So that day, the question might be something like, who is someone that I can forgive? And so it has a place that you can write, and hopefully that will help you reflect on somebody that maybe held on to something that you're like, okay, yeah, that's somebody that I can forgive. I could let go of that today. And then another question on that day is, what can I forgive myself for? So every day is completely different. It is everything from forgiveness to drinking water. There are some days about eating, because I didn't really say in my bio, I don't think, that I'm a certified life coach. Maybe I did say that, I can't remember. But, you know, for me, being a life coach, it's kind of an all-encompassing coaching. I like to kind of dive into everything. You know, how are you sleeping? You know, not just, I mean, some people think of life coach and they're like, oh gosh, she's going to tell me what to eat and to exercise. No, that's the last thing I want to do. I don't want to tell you what to eat, and I don't want to tell you to exercise. We all know that and have heard that way too much. But today, so that's what my book is about. I hope that if you're encouraged today, that you will look it up in the next week or so. It's called Why Not Now? 30 Challenges for a Better You. But I'm happy to say I completed that on my dream board. As we also said, I got married within the last year. So adding so many new children to the situation and being a newlywed has been stressful. It hasn't been just rainbows and unicorns every day. But I wanted to talk a little bit about having a stress-free life and kind of letting go of some things. The first thing I want to talk about is just self-reflecting and kind of looking within yourself and figuring out, how stressed am I? You know, sometimes I don't even think we take the time to reflect and see how we're feeling for the day. So self-reflection to me is something you want to do on a daily basis. You want to take a minute to just talk to yourself out loud or not. I prefer out loud if no one's around. And just kind of reflect on how you're feeling. Like, how are things going? You know, I'm going to kind of relay my stress to just trying to be a working mom, a working female, but it can be anything. It can be the stress that you have at work. It could be the stress you have with family, with relatives. It could be the stress you have financials. Anything that you are feeling stress for, pick one thing to kind of, as I'm talking, that's your thing that you're thinking about. But my thing's going to be just sort of the balance of being a new mom and second mom to individuals. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on. And the first thing that would be beneficial to all of us is just to take a deep breath. How often do we forget to breathe? I do this really strange thing that at night when I go to bed, all of a sudden I give like this deep breath. And I don't mean to, but it just happens. And so it makes me think, am I not breathing? Am I going to bed so fast that I'm not relaxing yet? Or is that my time that, okay, now I'm relaxed. Now I can breathe. So just the simple thing of breath, just taking some deep breaths. So I kind of want us to do that right now, because I'm a little bit nervous speaking and feeling a little bit rushed with the things that I've had going on for the day. So I just want to take like a second to just take the deep breath, all of us. And as we talk about stress for the next couple minutes and some little tips and things that I hope you'll take to heart, or maybe hopefully will be helpful to you, just take that breath to just sort of relax. And the way I like to relax is to roll my shoulders and neck and sort of let all that tension go. Just think of how beneficial this could be every day if when we get in those stressful situations, we can go, can you just hold for a second? Let me take a breath. So just sort of breathe and relax. So that's an easy little tip that you can do any time of the day. In my book, I said it's free and it's freeing. There's no cost to taking breaths and just relaxing for just a few minutes. That was more like 10 seconds, but you can do it for 5 minutes, however long you need, 10, 20, however long you need to just relax and breathe and just kind of have some time to yourself. Second thing is to focus. So I'm going to talk a little bit about when you have like a lot going on and life just seems super busy and you've got this, that, and the other, and it just seems like it's never ending. It's always going. And, you know, for us, it's like all the kids in different areas and different things, and we don't want anything to sort of be dropped or forgotten about. So take a focus on one thing and just give yourself a minute to think about what is that one thing that I want to focus on that's stressing me out, but I really want to just give it my focus. I want to take a breath and relax about it and sort of change our mindset on how we're feeling about it. And instead of being stressful, hopefully by the end of these little tips, you'll be able to say, okay, that's doable, not stressful. So once you've focused and figured out one thing that you want to do, I want you to take it into bite sizes. And instead of trying to eat the elephant in one bite, you eat it in the little pieces. And so that's what my first tip is going to be. If you want to write down tips, it's making a top 5 list. Now, this list came from my husband. He used to do this when we were dating, and I was like, what's on your top 5 today? And it would be, okay, today, these are my top 5 important things. So thinking about that one thing that's super stressful, go with your top 5 that are important. For me, I'm going to say, okay, my top 5 is I need to take care of myself first. I can't be the mom. I can't be the wife. I can't be everything to everybody else unless I've done some things for myself to start me out in the day, to get my cup full so that I can therefore pour out to others. So for me, my top 5 might be something like having a prayer or some quiet time, having some reading time, whether it be scriptures, whether it be a personal book, a self-help book, which I totally love, a book about, relationships, whatever I'm in the mood to read. Sometimes it's just a cute novel. Giving some time for me to read during the day. It helps me to just sort of realize that, you know what, life's always going to be stressful. There's always going to be things to do. Always going to be laundry to be done. But take time every day to do something you enjoy, which for me, that's reading. So there's my top 5. I've got also on there showing love to those that I love. If I'm going to be a good mom and a good wife, one of my top 5 has to be I've got to show love every day. And that might look different. It might sound different to every person in my family, but that's important. So those are some of the things that I might have on my top 5 for the day. Now, whether it's a day that something big is going on, my top 5 might look very different. That's kind of like a top 5 that I have on a daily, but it changes every day. So maybe today somebody has something big at school. So there's a lot of things I have to focus on that. Whatever your top 5 is, that's a great list to have that you're just like, these are the must-dos for today. And just focus on that. They're bite-sized things. It's only 5. We can all do 5 things a day. Everything else is going to be fluff and it's going to be good stuff, but it's also, these are the things that have to get done. So you've got your bite sizes, you've got your focus, you got your breath, you got your top 5 list. Now they're the have-tos for the day. Those top 5 have to be done. So even if it's at night, and I guess if you're tired, you can go to bed, but you're like, okay, I only have time to do 1 or 2 of these and I didn't get them all done. What's the most important thing? It might be just to rewind or relax and just sort of have some time to read or to pray and just sort of end your day with that. I thought it was cute. I went to my sister-in-law's this weekend and she is sort of spring cleaning, if you will. And she's always been a list girl. I remember when I would go over to her house for visiting. At the end of the night, every single night, she would make this cute little list and write down all the things she wanted to do the next day. But this time she had a calendar on her refrigerator, and every day of the month, it was something different that she was going to declutter. It had magazines on there. It had her makeup that she wanted to declutter. I mean, you name it, it was on there every single day for 30 days, one little thing that she was going to declare. And I thought that was perfect. You know, she's in the month, she's going to get it all done, but she's just taking it little bites at a time. And how much better is she going to feel about herself as she takes those little bites every single day, instead of saying, oh, I got to, declutter my entire house. I have to spring clean. No, she's accomplishing something every day that she can feel good about. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit is minutes mattering more than hours. So as we're trying to have this stress-free life, we have to focus more on the minutes and how every minute is important. Not, okay, this day was awful. Well, how was, the few minutes that you had to sit down with your child? How was the few minutes that you had to read your book? Looking at the minutes in your day versus the whole day in whole will give you a little perspective of, you know what? I have time to just relax right now. I'm just going to take 10 minutes to myself and just sort of, self-reflect, write in a journal, do whatever you want in that little time, and not worrying about the whole day and getting so much done in the whole day, because minutes do matter. Those minutes are the things that your kids are going to remember, that you're going to remember about your relationship with your husband or your significant other. So sort of that also goes along with being in the moment, right? Like not worrying so much about everything going on. I have to have everything done. I have everything, I've got so much on my plate. Instead, just spend that time with the person that you're with, whether it's your family or your relatives or friends. Just give them your full attention and your full self for that few minutes that you have with them. So being in the moment. And it also goes along with being present, not perfect. None of us are perfect. And neither should we all think that we can or will even ever will be, because we won't. So being present is more about just having a moment to say, you know what, I am present. I am here. I am with you right now. And I can be my best self with you right now. Instead of, oh, I have to be perfect. Everything has to be in line. Everything has to be done. That can get so heavy and so hard. So it's about being present and not perfect, and giving ourselves that grace to say, don't have to be perfect. I am who I am. Which leads to the next concept I want to share, which is self-compassion, self-love. Some people don't like this. They think that self-love sounds selfish. And I've even heard that self-love is not a thing. I'm like, it absolutely is a thing to me. Self-love is about having love for yourself. Actually spending time thinking about who you are and being grateful for who you are and what you've accomplished, where you've come from, what you've done. And it's really about the thoughts and the things that we say to ourselves. Are we sitting there being hard on ourselves? Are we sitting there saying horrible things about ourselves? Are other people saying horrible things about us or things that bring us down? I think this one's hard for people. I think people think that they're going to be prideful or they're going to be selfish. And I don't think that at all. I think it starts with, you've got to be able to love yourself. You've got to be able to pat yourself on the back and thank yourself and forgive yourself and have that self-worth, because that's who you are. That's your core. Nobody else knows you like yourself. I mean, they may think they do, even our parents, but we know ourselves more than anything. We know what our wants and our needs and our likes and dislikes are. And so I would even encourage you, take a journal and just write down who you are, who you want to be, who you know you are, but you haven't maybe shown to everybody how you are. So self-compassion and self-love. I like the word compassion better because it just shows that we're able to let go of things and sort of laugh at ourselves sometimes when we do silly things or things that aren't perfect. We're never going to be perfect, and that's okay. As long as we have that understanding that only God is perfect, and so I don't have to expect to be perfect, it will just give us that free pass to not be so serious about ourselves. The next concept is being yourself. And it kind of goes along with that. As you love yourself and realize, you know what, I'm not perfect. I do a lot of silly things or dumb things or whatever. I am me, and nobody else is me. Nobody else can be you. Nobody else has the qualities, the experiences, the love, the heart that you have. You're in it to be you And that's the biggest thing. You have to be you. Can't be somebody else. Can't compare yourself to other people. You can't say, well, she's got it all together. How come I can't do that? How does she have, the dishes all done and everything done? Well, she's not you. She's not in your shoes. She's not doing everything that you're doing. You're your own self. So be you, be your whole heart. I've had to learn that, I went from literally my oldest was going to graduate and then she was going to go off to college and I was going to be home by myself. And I was terrified. I was like, no, I don't want to be by myself. What am I going to do when my youngest goes off to college and I'm here just sitting here? And I was scared of that. I didn't want that. So that's when I said, okay, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to become what I've always wanted to be, which was in college, I thought it was a family counselor. But then when I heard what a life coach was, I was like, yeah, that's it. So I started going back to school, started taking courses, got certified. So then I had like something I could be. Well, then right before she actually went off, so I've kind of gotten myself prepared. I'm going to be, a mom with no children at home. Then I meet Kevin Matchin, and he's got 2 little ones, 11 and 9. So at the time they were actually 8 and 10. And so my life is very different than what I thought it was going to be. Now I'm going to be, home with kids and helping them and back into the little kid mode. So that's taken me, I'm going to say, because I've been married a good year to even just like readjust and to figure out where I fit into this scenario. They've got a mom, they've got their dad, and then they've got to share their share. So, where do I fit in? How do I parent them? So that's taken a big adjustment. And I thought I would be a little further at this point. I thought I would be, oh yeah, I got this, no problem. But I'm still going, okay, I can do this. Okay, I got this, it's still an adjustment and I am doing the very best that I can. But I know that I got a long ways to go and I'm willing to do it and putting my whole heart in it. And I really honestly have to tell myself often, just be you. Just do the things that you used to do with your own kids. Don't worry about what they're learning and what they're, used to. You had a way that you're used to as well, and introduce that to them. And some of the things that I've done, one of them just being a manners jar. They had a really hard time with sitting at the table and showing their manners. And so, poor Kevin was always reprimanding them. And I'm just sitting there like, well, I don't know what your manners are. And do I intervene? And do I start telling them what to do at the table? And I was really lost for a long time. Like, I don't know how to handle this. And then I said, well, what would you do with your own children? I would have a little reward jar. If they did well, they got the reward. If they didn't, they didn't. And it's like me being me. That's what I needed to contribute to this family, is I put that out and it's going really well. Like they get that treat if they've sat at the table and done well for their manners. And it's giving us a lot more peace that we're not sitting there telling them what to do all day long and reminding them, because at this point they're old enough. So just that has given me like a lot of self-worth. I'm going, okay, I do have something to contribute, and that's what I need to keep doing. Keep being myself, figuring out what I want to do to contribute to the family, and just doing it and taking a chance. So just lastly, I want to just kind of wrap up with the goals that I had on that last dream board that I showed you. And this is my dream board currently. I don't know if you can see it very well. But I'll just tell you what's on it. I've got family traditions, which is kind of like the manners jar. I've got to do more of that because that's kind of what I parent like. That's how I like to parent. I like to reward with things and have goals for the kids. Building a home, religion, temple, and Jesus. Being influence. That's not influence meaning like with my family. And having joy, love being a mom, love raising little ones. And then, of course, sun-kissed and getting away, having vacation time. So those are just a few of my goals this year, just to sort of, even though it has been a year, make this year more like, okay, I've kind of tried everything last year, and I've kind of gotten to know what kind of family I want with this new marriage. Now it's time to implement those things. And having these top 5s, having this self-compassion, having my goals, breathing, focusing, self-reflecting, these things have helped me to sort of let go and not stress so much, because stress only gives me gray hair and wrinkles. I'm done. I don't want to stress so much. I want to be able to wake up in the morning and be excited about the day and say, okay, I get to parent. I get to, reach out to my kids that aren't close by, that live far away, ones that are growing their family, ones that are, grown and off on their own. I can still be their mom and be that person for them and just tell them that I have their back. And so going forward, and this one's more of a board for my goals for my family, but I do have a goal board for coaching and for writing. So now that I've finally finished that book, my first book, if you will, I'm going to write a teen book, kind of the same concept, but more towards teens or young adults, because their goals would be different than us as adults, and just gear it a little bit more towards them. And then I also have in the future Rescue Rehab, which my husband and I are trying to plan. Us being newlyweds, us being second marriage, husband and wife, we have like all these ideas and we're talking all the time and navigating and learning and sort of figuring out our own relationship. But we really want to do like a little retreat, if you will. We're calling it relationship rehab, but where people that have been married a long time, maybe even on the verge of, trying to figure out if they want to stay together. They come, they do some workshops, they hear from both of us and our experiences, and hopefully go out feeling like rejuvenated and ready to reunite their love. So that's in the works in the future. That's pretty much what I wanted to share today. My catchphrase is, why not now? Why not now? Let your life be stress. It's not going to be stressless, but a little less stressful, so that you're feeling like, I can do this. I can bite-size, focus, and breathe through any kind of stressful situation. And why not now? Do it today. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that amazing update here. You have come so far since the last time we last connected. Wonderful to hear. And congratulations on being a grandmother. You and I are
Thank
you.
So exciting.
It's an exciting time.
First grandchild.
Yeah.
I've just had mine. He's 8 months now.
Oh.
And I don't want to go back to New Zealand.
I don't blame you.
Still in Australia.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And you know what? You can work remotely. So might as well stay there and enjoy it. He's only going to be a baby for so long. Mm-hmm.
Welcome, Diane and Darren. Wonderful to see you both with us today. This is just absolutely awesome. So the questions I have for you, Shia, before we move on to our next speaker, you talk about living by the moment. It's not an easy thing to do. There's so much going on in the world right now. We've got this war in Ukraine. We have things that we worry about. What is your daily practice that keeps you centered and in the moment?
Yeah, really, honestly, it's that top 5 list, because those are the things that are important to me. And yes, what's going on in the world and the stresses are going to be there. But if I don't focus on the things, those 5 things that I have to get done today, that number 1, obviously being giving myself a little bit of grace and, spending some time just literally filling my cup. I've got to pray. I've got to take a moment to read and to just have, and also exercises on that. I just take a walk. It's not even like going to the gym or anything, but just that walk, it helps me feel so much better about myself and kind of lets me breathe and relax. So when all those outside things and all that stressful stuff comes, I'm a little bit more centered. So
that is awesome.
Again, that self-compassion, take care of me so I can take care of everybody else.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I love about Sharon and Kevin is when they take that walk every morning together. And it's their time together. Their little dog gets her time out, but it's their time together, and it's something they've committed to do together. And when they're in town together, he's out of town right now, but that I see that as such a blessing or such a smart thing to do. Also, I disagree with one thing she said. She is perfect, but then I can say that because I'm her mom.
Because you're her mom.
She said, and sometimes your parents don't even know you. Well, hey, I see you through these loving mother eyes.
Rosy glasses. I'm sure I'll say the same about my grandbaby.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So that's a great job, Sherry. I'm so excited about. You'll have to let us all know when your launch is so we can all chime in for that.
Okay, yeah. I will.
It's pretty exciting thinking on the book. So
all I can say is hold on to your seatbelt. Your life will never be the same again.
Oh, I'm glad. That sounds exciting.
It is. It sure is. So we're going to move on to one short video. Before we go on to you, Diane, Darren is now here. He's got a 3-minute video we'll play, and then we'll do a Q&A session with him, and then we'll move on to you. So thank you so much for responding on LinkedIn and being available. I was going to just play your video, but then when you responded, I said, just come on so we can have you live. So bear with us. We'll go to listen to Darren's.
I have a quick question. Am I supposed to be on next or after?
You're supposed to be on next. I'm going to read your bio. Okay. I'll play the video you gave us. I know it's just 3 minutes. Then we want to just ask you some questions before we move on to the next speaker.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, I'll mute my camera.
Wonderful. So Darren O'Lyon is the Chief Executive Officer of Symmetry. I hope I'm saying that right. He's based in Utah, USA. If I've butchered the word, Darren, you have to correct me. He's the experienced Chief Executive Officer with a demonstrated history of working with international startup businesses, skilled in investment networks, negotiation, business planning, coaching, and sales, strong business development, and attended the BYU Law School with a Master of Public Administration focused on finance and entrepreneurship from Brigham Young University. And you are also Jerry's son, which is such a pleasure to meet you today because I know your dad, I've known your mom for a while, and now I'm getting to meet the family as well. So I will share the video and then we'll bring you on, Darren, so we can ask you questions. I'm really curious to find out more about your work internationally. I know that you're working in Africa as well, so my curiosity is very, very much ready to hear who you are.
My name is Darren Lyon. I'm the oldest of 9 children, 2 older half-sisters, so technically 11 kids. I grew up in San Diego, lived a few years in Bellingham, but the majority of my life was in San Diego. We were from humble circumstances. My parents weren't wealthy, but we had a house full of people at all times, whether it would be kids, family, friends. My father is from a place called Nanakuli, which is in Hawaii. So he taught us the aloha spirit, the kokua, the Hawaiian culture. My mom is from California, raised in Texas, and so we learned the American way. So what we say is hapa haole, means half-half. But that's how I was raised. I was raised with both cultures, and really the culture that we had in our house was a culture of work hard, play hard, eat hard, based all on the aloha spirit. I was taught the aloha spirit from the second I was born, from the second I could breathe, from the second I could walk and talk. My parents taught us how to serve. And one of the interesting things about the Polynesian culture is it is a culture of giving, of service, of aloha. That's the aloha spirit, is love. And when we talk about love in our culture, we don't really sit there and say, oh, lovey-dovey stuff. No, it's always service. And it's always a service of giving without expectation. If you need help, if you need service, you need food, sit down at our table, eat with us. Be part of the family. If you need a shirt, here you go. If you need a ride, here you go. It's the aloha spirit where you're always giving without expectation. One of the other things we learned now, that's what we learned in the home, was this aloha spirit and kokua. But one of the things you learn not in the home, out in the streets or at school or whatever, when you're outside, is survival. It's a matter of survival of the fittest. And one of the things I learned as a child was keep your head on a swivel. That's what my coach used to teach us all the time. Keep your head on a swivel. When you walk on that field, keep your head on a swivel. Well, it's the same thing in life. When we walk out of our home, keep your head on a swivel. In other words, assess the situation, the environment, see where you are, measure everything out, risk analysis, and just pay attention to where you are, when you are, and what you're doing. So now, when you have the kokua, the aloha spirit in the home, and you got this other side of, survival of the fittest, you have this kind of abundance mentality versus scarcity mentality. And what we were taught really was kokua. Kokua means work together. That's what it means in Hawaiian, work together. But it's a lot deeper than that. It goes back to what I was telling you on the aloha spirit. It's where you're giving, you're working together, you're just finding solutions to help or solve a problem.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's Darren in a nutshell right there. That's a great video, Darren. That's really a good video. So I've asked Darren to share with us today. And we're living with him now, and he came home, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago now. He was on a trip to Africa, and he said, "Don't you do something with the sanitary napkins?" I think I remember something about that. And so tell her what happened to you when you were down in South Africa. I think it was South Africa, right?
Correct. Yeah, South Africa. And by the way, thank you very much for inviting me. And my apologies. I literally I checked in and got to my room as fast as I could. So here we are. And my son is putting his clothes in his drawer. But yes, I work with blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and all this type of stuff. And so I was in South Africa working on some licensing for some banking licensing and stuff like that. And I was working with some affiliates. We have about 18,000 affiliates in South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Uganda, and a couple other countries surrounding. Well, we were sitting there, and one of the things I teach my affiliates is exactly, it was in the video, but one of the things I teach them is that if you give, we call it kakua, like I just said, I don't always say that, but if you give, something always comes back somehow, some way. And if you're struggling in business, one of the best things you can do, the very first things you can do is start to serve someone. And then who knows how, if you believe in God or the universe or good karma, but it always returns in some form or manner. Well, we were sitting there, and a couple of my leaders had done a program, and we came up with a quick idea. We raised about $3,000 to $5,000 in a few hours in Bitcoin. And then we have the ability to use debit cards and stuff. So we were able to go to the stores, and we helped Jerry, I think it was 600 kids, or was it 800? It was either 600 or 800 females in a couple of schools with sanitary supplies, sanitary napkins for about 3 to 4 months. We had a few extra dollars, and we ended up feeding at least 500 families too. And that's right. I came home from my trip, and I was like, Jerry, I swear you work with service projects doing this. And it opened my eyes. We had the news, we had the principals, and we had all these people so grateful. And I just never realized the importance or the massive need they have. I know there's always a need for food and stuff like that, but I never realized that need. And in Africa, they have no problem. They have no problem expressing their happiness, gratitude, and joy. And I'm telling you, there were just tears and videos and songs and singing, and it was a good time. So that's a quick little report of how it went.
I am excited to meet you, because we are taking the product that Jerry has made for us to Zimbabwe in September. We want to set up a women's cooperative, Darren. I need your support. We want to buy overlockers and sewing machines and start a factory where the mothers are employed and they make the sanitary pads and the girls stay in school. So you and I need to connect. I need to connect with entrepreneurs on the ground in Africa. I'm also curious about Bitcoin because Zimbabwe, as you know, is a country without a currency.
Yeah.
We don't have physical cash. We're using US dollars. And how can we use these new currencies to balance out the imbalances that are there in Africa and on the ground? So
Well,
thank
that's
you so
funny.
much.
You bring that up, but I started a Women's Entrepreneur Association in Uganda, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, and South Africa. And I'm creating a magazine that features them and in digital currency and blockchain and businesses. And then we did our first event about 3 weeks ago. So yeah, I'd be willing to help out. But one of the things I'm featuring and going really hard and strong is women entrepreneurs, because in Africa, have you worked with microlending before?
I have a small project in Zim where we give 50 US dollars. We help women start small businesses. That
So we're
is the way
doing,
to go.
yep. And the women are the most responsible and they're the providers, and you know how it is in Zim. So yes, we've been doing that also. So we should coordinate. And we've been doing it all with cryptocurrency.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Right now we have a group of musicians who are based in not New York, New Jersey, who are coming. They're going to go through Riverside, California to pick up the machines that Jerry has bought for us. And they're going to set up a music school in Zim, because the hardest thing in the last 2 years to move the product was shipping. Tariffs were so high.
Yeah.
So we have 4 women who are going to give up their luggage space. They're going to buy clothes when they get to South Africa, but they're going to pick up everything that Jerry has and take it to Zimbabwe via South Africa. So we're hoping that when they get to South Africa, we buy more sewing machines, and then we go into Zim and create this women's cooperative and start distributing these sanitary pads throughout the Southern Africa. It's going to create a lot of employment. And the main thing for me is to keep the girls in school, because these kids are missing out on school when they have a period. So to see a man standing for this cause and helping us, I am choking with tears right now. Thank you for what you're doing.
And I'll tell you, I probably have over 500 men there also on the ground that will support it. They were the ones that came up with the idea. So we can support you strongly over there.
Yeah, we have to make it sustainable. We have to create cooperatives where we're making the product ourselves and not relying on buying them. And the reusable ones last longer, because dumping of the disposable ones is an issue as well, especially in the rural parts of the country. So yeah. So Jerry, please connect us. I'm going to connect with you on LinkedIn. Just
we know each other real well.
I
don't know if you know, but Jerry's my stepmom.
Yes, so. I know your dad. I met him when I came to Riverside before they moved to come and live with you. So I know part of the family. Shia is somebody else I've met through Jerry. It's wonderful to meet you, Darren. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate it. Nice meeting you too.
Wow, Jerry, this is just awesome. Awesome. Wow. Whew. Any other questions before we let him go? And NFTs, Darren, have you dealt with NFTs before?
I have been building NFT technology for 6 years. In fact, I'm just going to tell you, I've been sued by 7 state SECs over NFTs 4 years ago, before NFTs were NFTs. We are the only company I know of that won the lawsuits. So now we happen to be experts in the world on NFTs and have the only US NFT license for an exchange. So I am as deep as it gets on NFTs. I'm working with a lot of celebrities, professional teams. That's kind of why I'm running all over the world right now, because NFTs are the big buzz.
Yes.
But what people don't understand is we're doing NFTs 1.0. You see a piece of art and you think that's an NFT, and 99.9% of the people aren't making any money using that. So everyone's getting excited because they want to get in, but they don't even know the technology.
Yeah.
NFTs are simply explained as digital ownership. And I am telling you, the next 10 and 20 years are going to completely change, because the technology that makes NFTs work is the power. That's where it's all at. So I am as deep as it gets on NFTs.
Okay, you and I are going to have a lot to talk about, because I have a
Okay.
lot of ideas around African art and craft. And okay, thank you, Jerry. You have no idea what you've done for me today.
Yeah.
We're going
In
to have
fact,
fun.
I spent 2 days training 18 attorney generals on blockchain. They're now asking me to educate them on NFTs, but when I say I'm deep, I've already signed contracts with Nicki Minaj, Pitbull, Timbaland. I'm working with T.I. I'm working with Tiny. I'm working with all these celebrities because they want to do NFTs. They've already tried to do it, but they don't know how to. And the other
Yes.
thing that's really scary is the liability. Jimmy Fallon released NFTs $25 million 3 weeks ago. He never got the money. The people that bought the NFTs never got the NFTs, and they claimed it was a hack through the exchange system. Well, guess what? Jimmy Fallon's the one getting sued because he's the one everyone knows. So that's the fear of all these celebrities and pro athletes, is how do I use this and
Yes.
not have the liability? Well, 3 years ago, we decided to get licensed from the government, and that's the assurance we have is U.S. oversight. And we're the only exchange on the world, in all the world, that has NFT license to do that. So,
Wow.
so
Wow.
we'll talk a lot more. We'll probably have to
We
meet in
will
person.
talk. I'm going to send you a video on LinkedIn. Please watch it before we talk.
Okay.
And then I will explain where I'm going with NFT and cryptocurrency as a solution for some of our projects. I really
Okay.
need help in that world.
All right.
Wow,
I appreciate it.
wonderful. Thank you so much, Darren.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, Jerry, too.
Give Nana a kiss for me.
I will. We'll see you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Fantastic. All right. So we'll move on to our next speaker, who is an amazing musician. Diane Allen is an inspirational speaker. She's a violinist. She trains, she coaches, and she is going to be with us today sharing her amazing story. I hope you will play for us again like you did last time.
So thank you for having me. I unfortunately am not prepared to play today. This was a very last minute random event that I'm here live. So I can talk. I'm so filled with what just transpired between you and the last guest. So lead me through this. What would you like to ask me?
Okay. Well, do you want us to do it interview style?
Yes.
Okay. So I know that the last time, Jerry, I'll bring you back on. The last time you graced us with your presence, we watched you playing the violin, and you are just an amazing, amazing musician. Now you transfer that skill, not just on stage, but in business as well.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
And before I do, I think I caught that the general overlying theme is about giving today. Is that correct?
The power of giving, correct.
Power of giving.
Mm-hmm.
So the power of a musician being into the music, if you can imagine getting into your life, getting into all the different aspects of your life, like a musician gets into the music, that is what I would say is the most giving way you can be, because you are giving from a very deep part of your soul. And so we can break this down because what is getting into the music? What is getting into your life like a musician gets into the music? And it's the positive psychology of peak performance known as the flow state. And the flow state it can have many, many different interpretations. But the psychology of it is that it is literally a state of mind when we feel our best and we perform our best. And it comes from a place of purpose. When you are in your purpose, you tap into flow, like the gentleman just previously was saying. When you're in this spirit of giving, it's like you put yourself aside and everything comes forward for you to give, and for you to give, as Cher said earlier, for you to give in your own unique way, your gifts, your own unique way of giving. And so the neuroscience of being in flow literally is where there's a chemical reaction of a release of hormones, and they're all the peak performance and happiness hormones that get released in your brain. All of the things that have you rise to the occasion if maybe you're in a heightened situation. It's when you're in a peak performance state. It's when you're experiencing bliss. And so that's the hormonal, the chemical aspect of being in flow. The neocortex amps up dramatically, increasing your learning speed, being able to take in. So maybe you're in the heat of the moment and you're able to, this section is amped up. You're able to learn at a very quick speed and deal with whatever's going on. And then the prefrontal cortex temporarily shuts down. And what's going on here is this is where our inner critic lives. And it's so when we feel like we've put ourselves aside, oftentimes it's because that prefrontal cortex is shut down and we feel so uninhibited. We feel so one with the activity, and we get into this state of flow where we are giving from our most authentic state in our most unique way.
I love the way you've explained that. The reason I do is because people, I have always, I'm not a really outgoing person, but I've always been able, even as a very young child, because my mother left when I was 6. So I had to kind of be the mom in the family for a while and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I've always been able to see a need and work it out in my head that, okay, I can figure out how to make that need happen. And then find the people to help. Like when we did our thing in our HerStory conference in Las Vegas, Gertrude was on stage saying we really need sanitary napkins for the girls in Zimbabwe so they can go to school. And my brain's doing this, going, wait a minute, I saw a group that's making reusable. I wonder if they would want some of those. And I'm like, so after they got done talking and sharing what they needed, I ran up to the stage and I said, I think I can do this. I can make these. I'll make you 1,000 kits. I have no idea where that came from.
Would you say that how would you describe that? Are you a connector?
I think that's what it is, because I was able to go back. I went to one of their meetings. I sat down with a lady and said, hey, I need to make 1,000 of these kits, not pads, 1,000 kits.
Yeah.
To send to Zimbabwe. And the lady looked at me like, 1,000? I really want
to ask you one more question. Okay. So we've established you're a connector. What is the purpose that was pulling you forward in that moment?
The need for these girls to go to school.
And when these girls go to school, like when I think of purpose, I think of universal truths, peace, love, equality, right? Joy, happiness, whatever it is for you.
Exactly. I got to go to school.
Yeah.
Why they have just as much right to go to school as I did.
So would you say equality?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what we just did, okay, was I just walked you through. Let me just break this down. So what I am known for is helping people get into their flow state on demand. And the way we do this is we reverse engineer a moment when you are in flow, which is what you and I just did. Mm-hmm. You had a memory of it. So The first question is, let me just rephrase for a second. Reverse engineering, when you are in flow, starts with noticing a memory when you lost all track of time. You felt one with the activity. Ideas and insights were coming in from out of the blue. Things came together with a sense of ease, which is what you experienced, that ease. Everything just was there for you. And you're in this positive feedback loop where the more you get into it, the more you get out of it. And you're experiencing this incredible joy and purpose and fulfillment. So those are the key indicators of being in flow. So what I call a flow strategy, is when you reverse engineer how you get into flow, you figure out your flow strategy. So where is the first question? Where are you when you get into the flow state the most? Well, just now you remembered a very specific experience, and it was when Gertrude was on stage and you were able to just pull it together, right? So that's where you were. What were you doing? You were connecting. We just identified that for you. And then why? Why is it so meaningful? Well, it could be many different things. We pulled out equality. So if you take a look now, let's say you're having an off day and you want to get into your flow. You pull out your flow strategy and you remind yourself, how can I connect in this moment? What does it feel like for me to be in that connection spirit? Where's the equality in this situation? How could I strive for that? And that's how you could tap back into it.
So what happened for me right now, I'm in the flow when I'm telling stories or listening to stories or sharing stories. And, just meeting your son, Jerry, you have no idea what you've done for me today. I mean, we've known each other for over 2 years.
Well, but see, I do know, because last night, what she's talking about, I was sitting there thinking about, I want to go to Africa in September and take those things. And I know Darren's planning on going in June, and he wants me to go with him and meet those people. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I need to connect those two. Why have I not done that before? And it just came to me. I was like, okay, I think I'm going to do that. So I went and we were in the middle of I feel a little bad because I walked away from one of the videos because I just had to ask him so I could find out. And he said, oh yeah, I'll do that. He's a professional speaker. So, and we do like to have men on this.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll give it a try. He's really busy. I mean, really busy, but he's always willing. So, and I knew
that's incredible.
So
absolutely incredible. So you can reverse engineering to get back into flow.
And that's what happened yesterday.
Identify how you were there.
I didn't know what it was called, though. You've enlightened me.
Isn't that funny? And so many people say, I didn't know there was a name for that. Right?
Yes.
And other people are like, flow. Oh no, that sounds a little too woo-woo.
Yeah.
No, it does not.
But it is heavily studied in psychology, and in the last 10 years, the research in the neurosciences, and it still continues to skyrocket. So there's even some technologies that are based on getting people into their flow state faster, using virtual reality and things like that. But I prefer to just really rely on what's already within you.
Yeah.
And I think that when people, so many people are, especially, I hate to, belabor the pandemic, but we're exhausted, right? We're burned out. Some people feel blah. They or maybe they're crazy busy, but they feel empty inside.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you regenerate? How can you find your flow? How could you get into it more frequently? Well, if you build your flow strategy, when you define it, then you own it. And then
so let's go through it again. Give us the steps, because I want to decode mine properly.
Let me grab something real quick. We're winging it today, and I got my stuff. Okay, so let's just backtrack for a second. This is, I used to be the lead violinist of a symphony orchestra.
Wow.
And so if you see where I'm sitting here, I had to be at the top of my game, because if I wasn't into the music, imagine the lack of impact. I mean, I had no choice. So this is my background. I had to figure out how to be at my best, and it happened to be accessing my flow state. So I had to figure that out. So the flow state occurs at the intersection of skill and challenge.
Okay.
So for me, I'll just give you a quick example. I could practice in the and this is my room. I practice, but when I'm on stage, that's the challenge. And I play better than I do in the practice room. So that's an example of when the two come together, and it takes you to a whole new height. So the key indicators of being in flow, in order to figure out your flow strategy, you have to either find a time when you slip into flow. So you're just going to observe yourself for a couple of weeks if this is all new for you. Or if you're already familiar with flow, you're going to recreate a memory of a time.
Yes.
And how you'll do that is by using the key indicators, losing sense of time. Those moments when 3 hours go by and you realize that was just thrilling and enjoyable, right? You have this sense of feeling one with the activity, and that's because that prefrontal cortex is shut down, and it's like you have put yourself aside and you're just fully present. That was also a comment with Sherry, right? How do you become present? Getting into flow is how you could be in the present moment. Turn off that inner critic. Things coming together with the sense of ease, this positive feedback loop, where the more you get into it, the more you get out of it, and experiencing joy and fulfillment. So with those key indicators in mind, whether you're finding a time when you slip into flow or remembering a time, the first question is where? Where are you when you get into the flow state the most? And so you had mentioned, Gertrude, that it was right now. Listening to stories, right? Telling stories. And there was a third one, which I'm forgetting right now. But
then we've been doing this for 31 days. Today is day 31. Every day we're online. We have 10, 15 speakers. And I just love it. I'm exhausted, but it's delicious.
Yes. So this is where you've been online in the last 31 days. Okay. Now this next question has two parts. What are you doing? So I play the violin. That's what I'm doing on the outside. But what we really want to know is, what are you doing on the inside?
Right.
So, for example, when I'm playing the violin or speaking, I have this tremendous sense of sharing. For somebody else, it might be teaching, it might be giving, it might be illuminating, who knows? So ask yourself, what am I doing on the inside? And then the third question is why? Why is it so meaningful? And so when you define, I should have one more chart here. Let me find it. What you do on the inside is how you can shift into your flow state on purpose. So if I'm having an off day, I'm going to figure out a way to share. And I have an example of my, I had figured this out with the violin. I'm sharing when I'm playing the music. I feel like I'm telling a story through my music. And I was at this networking event, feeling very awkward, trying to break into those circles of conversations and just feeling very clunky and awkward. And I was like, wait a minute. I share when I'm on stage with the violin. What if I share here? And it worked. I was able to tap into that spirit of sharing and into my flow. So knowing what you do on the inside means you can now shift into your flow state on purpose, because if you've defined it, then it's a tool, you can own it. Why it's so meaningful is how you can shift into the flow state with purpose. And this is what I call your flow strategy. Were you able to figure yours out?
I think it's important for me because I know the power of stories to change the world. I know the power of sharing my personal stories or exposing other people's stories. And I've seen the ripple effect of it. I've seen the impact of this work.
Not only have we seen, we've seen a lot of people get healed by this work.
Yes.
Which is so amazing. That's probably in the beginning when we started doing this, I thought, okay, we're gonna all get on there, we're gonna tell our stories. But
stories heal.
Stories heal. They do. Once you tell the story, you're able to let go of it.
Yeah.
And let go of the pain. And
mm-hmm.
that's extraordinary.
Yeah, there's a lot of healing that comes out of the sharing
Mm-hmm.
of stories.
I mean, I can't even tell you how many times we have cried on camera. I mean, women have been telling these stories, and we're just like, we've got to pull it together. We got to pull it together.
Or not,
because their stories are so heart wrenching and so, and they're just so strong. You think, wow,
yeah,
wow,
it's humbling.
A lot of strength has come out of this whole process. A lot.
And the other thing, Diane, is I was that little girl who was punished for speaking as a child.
Oh.
And it was my biggest strength. My father realized how engaging I was. He encouraged me to do public speaking and debate, and he channeled that energy into what is now a profession I'm paid for. It's like you people who sing, it's like you playing the violin. That's my instrument, is my voice.
Yes.
One of the few things I was punished for is for laughing. I used to get in so much trouble at school for laughing in class, but I couldn't help it. But you know, nobody's ever discouraged me from laughing now. I love to laugh. But
yeah, life. This is awesome.
Well, congratulations on 31 days of being in flow and being able to and do that healing through story, and to provide this space and the, you know, the last thing I would like to say about the flow state is, have you noticed it's contagious?
Yes.
Because you holding this space and sharing your stories, sharing other people's stories, the people who are listening, right? It's very inspiring, and it is contagious. And so that's why when I showed you that picture of me, I don't know where it is right now, of me in the orchestra, it was vital for me, because that energy is contagious. And the energetic field of the heart reaches out 15 all around us.
Yeah.
And so, and through the technology that we're using these days.
Yeah. You can reach so many people.
And to connect on that way, it's just amazing.
Absolutely magical. It's the only way to express it. Wow.
Yes.
Well, I am so glad you were online today and you responded just like that. It's not a coincidence that we are having you back on our stage. Thank you.
Yes, it was a fun moment. Thank you. And I look forward to talking to you soon. And I look forward to getting to know you more, Jerry.
Thank you very much, Diane.
Have a great rest of your day.
Okay.
Thank you, Diane. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, wow. What a day.
Yes.
What a day. So
Dorothy's with us.
Dorothy is with us. Dorothy, if you're there, unmute, come on camera so we can see you. Let me see if I can.
There she's unmuted.
Okay.
Hi.
Hey, Dorothy.
Hello.
Please
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I was saving my, when I put video, the network is not good. So I was saving it for now.
Okay, so we don't want to waste any time. The stage is yours, my sister. Dorothy is from Zimbabwe, based in the UK. Amazing woman with an amazing story. So the stage is You can go ahead, Dorothy. You can start speaking.
Oh, thank you very much, Gertrude. Hello, everybody. My name is Dorothy Katzikano. I come from Zimbabwe, and I'm currently living in the UK. First of all, I would like to thank Gertrude for affording me this opportunity to tell my story. I have so many stories. I don't know where to begin, but I think I'll tell this particular one because it forms the basis of who I am and who I have become and the work that I do. So my story begins when I was 13 years old. I was forced to drop out of school because my mother didn't have enough money to pay for my school fees so I could continue with my education. It was a very difficult time for me because I had to stay out of school and I watched every day other children my age going to school. Perhaps I should start by giving you a background. My father was a political prisoner. He was in political detention, which meant that he spent more time away from us. He spent more time in prison than he did at home. My mother used to work as a domestic. She worked for a white family in the northern suburbs of Bulawayo. She didn't earn much. She used to supplement her income by selling anything, really, from dried vegetables to anything. She used to sell anything to take care of us. So, out of school, without anything to do, I found myself having to be a childminder. I used to look after my little siblings. There were two babies at the time, and there were two other toddlers in my home. And I naturally was an available childminder, and I assisted with household work at the age of 13. Time moved very slowly, painfully slowly, and for 14 months, I was out of school. I remember asking my mother many times, many times, when I will go back to school. She used to have only one answer for me. She said, "You will learn. You will learn, my daughter, and you will finish school." That didn't mean anything to me at the time. I think she just didn't have a clear and straightforward answer for me. She just said, "You will learn." Sure enough, after a year, I went back to school and I had to repeat grade 7. That was another difficult year for me because I faced a lot of bullying. First of all, I was older than my peers. I was 18 months or so older than the other students. And they used to call me head girl or mother. And I faced a lot of bullying. I endured a lot of bullying. Anyway, I finished school. I finished grade 7. And as I was waiting for my results, my father had been released from prison. And just 2 weeks before my results were out, my father passed away. That was a blow to me because my hope for going on to Form 1 were shattered. I wasn't sure that my mother would be able to take me through to Form 1. I remember when the results came out, I took them to my uncle because I was hoping that since there were good results, my uncles would assist me with fees for Form 1. My uncle answered me with a few words. He said, "There is no money to pay for your school fees." And I could hear them talking. They didn't know I was around. I heard the adults talking, my two uncles saying, "I am ripe for marriage." And it was about time I was given a way to be married. I remember that time. I was so devastated. I had no one to tell. I didn't even know what to do. I went back to my mother and I told her what I had heard. And instead of supporting me or telling me something that would comfort me, my mother said to me, "Why do you listen to adults when they talk? Why did you go there in the first place? I told you that you will go to school." 2 weeks went by and there was nothing, no news of me going to school. I had found a place for Form 1, but I wasn't sure I was going to go to school. I was happy one day when my mother told me that the fees had been found and I would be going to Form 1. I went to boarding school and my new journey started. I was excited to be in Form 1. But little did I know that some children that I went to grade 7 with were in that same school. And before I knew it, other girls were asking me how old I am because they had heard that I repeated grade 7 and I was a little older than them. So that was another time where I experienced bullying, and it left me with no friends. I couldn't make friends because I felt older than other children. Even though there were other people that were older than me, because we went to school with other girls who were much, much older than us, who had been in the War of Liberation. Anyway, I went through that. And as time went by, I picked up my confidence and I told myself that my mother said I would go to school and I would learn and I would finish school. And that is what I did. I finished Form 1, I went to Form 2, and fees started becoming a problem my mother couldn't afford. And then the headmistress of the school said to me, "Tell your mother that if it's okay with her, you could come back to school during the school holidays and work for your fees." And that is exactly what I did. When other children closed schools and went back home, I went for only a week and went back to school to work as a contribution towards my school fees. I passed my O-levels very well and went back home, and I was hoping to get a job or something, at least to help with my family needs. And I was surprised one day to get a letter from the school. I had received a scholarship to go on to A-level. That was the beginning of new things for me. I knew that my dreams were going to be realized. I joined the A-level class in the second term. And I went up to Form 6, and I proceeded to do my social work studies, and I qualified as a social worker. Fast forward, I started working for an NGO, and my first job, I worked with children, vulnerable children. And that is where I saw that my passion is working with children. I started doing a lot of work with vulnerable children. We were assisting them with school fees, with basic needs. We assisted them with medical bills, anything to make their quality of life better. I then realized as I was working that my work is actually my passion. And it was at that point that I noticed that anybody, people in church, at work, anywhere, they used to refer children to me who are vulnerable children, who are out of school children, who are being abused. I would just get people calling me to say, Dorothy, there's this child. Can you help her? Do you think you can help her? That's when I realized that this is the work that I am meant to do. Fast forward, 2014, 2015, I had become a development consultant and I was doing research. And I was in a place in Sobumane, Nkai, in Matabeleland North in Zimbabwe. And I was doing a research on teenage pregnancies and another research on child marriages. That's when I came across children who were out of school. And those children were out of school because they didn't have birth certificates. They were out of school because they had to get married. They were given away in marriage. I started working with those children, facilitating birth registration for them, and making sure that every child who is brought to my attention gets assistance and goes back to school. So I started linking children with organizations that would assist them, because at the time I could only do so much. In fact, when I was working with children, my motto was I work with children and I change children's lives one child at a time. And that is exactly what I did. I started with my extended family, looking after those children that could not afford to go to school. I would pay school fees for them. I fostered many children. I lived with so many children in my own home, taking care of them, taking them to school, feeding them, clothing them, and giving them the basic necessities to make sure that they go to school so that they could become something, so that they become who they want to be. What I didn't want for any child was to experience what I experienced as a child, being out of school. So I started working with children. In 2014, I founded the Foundation for Girls. And I started working with girls, taking them off the street. I started working with young girls who had fallen pregnant and dropped out of school, assisting them to go back to school or assisting them to get life skills or assisting them to be something that will assist them to be self-reliant. So I noticed that there are so many children that need this help. There are so many children that are out of school, so many children that are being given away in marriage, so many children that fall pregnant because of their circumstances, because of the environment that they are growing in. Because of that, I wanted to make sure that no child that comes to my attention goes away without assistance. This is why I formed this foundation. Fast forward to 2021. I founded the Thrive Project because I realized that the Foundation for Girls was focusing on only girls. We were receiving even boys who were vulnerable, boys who were out of school, boys who were getting into drugs, boys who were getting into substance abuse. So the Thrive Project was started in 2021 to cater for any child who is vulnerable. And the criteria that I use is vulnerability. Because of my situation, I made it a point that I will not subscribe to the selection criteria for gifted children, because there are a lot of organizations that sponsor child education, but their selection criteria is to pick those children that are gifted. My position is that every child is born with an inherent gift. Every child has a talent that is waiting to be discovered and to be nurtured. And as I continue to work with children, I realized that it's really not always about intelligence and ability. I discovered that for a lot of these vulnerable children that we work with, it is mostly about confidence and articulation. So this program, the Thrive Project, not only supports children with education, we also support children with life skills. We support children to speak out. We support children through various forums. We have discussion forums. We have information lounges where children are allowed to come to safe spaces and relax and be with their peers and express themselves and find adults that they can trust, find adults that they can tell things that they've been keeping to themselves. So this project, the Thrive Project, is a new baby, but it's a continuation of the work that started in 2014. We work with children that are vulnerable. We pay school fees for them. We take children from streets. We take children that are out of school and bring them back to school in a protective environment. We network them. We refer them. We follow them up until they are independent. To date, we have assisted more than 400 children from 2014. We have assisted more than 400 children with either birth registration or going back to school or reuniting them with families, with their families, so that these children do not grow up as people without connections. We ensure a support system that is safe for them. And if it's not safe, we refer them to safe places where they can get assistance. So, what am I saying? I am saying that there are so many children that need assistance, and there are so many of us that are able to assist, but we may not be in a position to come across these children. We are the link. Talk to us. Call us. Get in touch with us. We will link you to the children that need assistance. You can work through us, sponsor through us, and you will be assured to change a life, to transform a life, so that children get an assured future. As I grew up, there were so many things that I lacked. And I see that in these children that we work with. There is nothing that I wanted as much as education. Nothing that I wanted as much as education. I just wanted an education because, in my view, and from what my mother taught me, if I got an education, that was the doorway to my success. There are still a lot of things I do not know how to want because I've never dreamt of having them as a child. And I see that in children that we work with today. When they come into our program, they are exactly that. You ask them what they want, they will tell you about their needs. You ask them what they want to be, they will tell you, I want to be anything. And for me, I want to make sure that every child aspires to be something that they are happy to be, not just anything, but to be something. For me, when I chose social work, I knew I wanted to be a social work because we used to have career guidance lessons at my school. And so many teachers used to say to me, you are supposed to be a social worker because you work with people and you understand people and you are a useful member of the community. When I was in Upper Six, I received the first citizenship prize for the school. And this prize was given to the girl who has made the most contribution to the school and to the community. When I got that prize at that time, I didn't know what it meant. But when I went out into the world, that's when I understood what citizenship is. That's when I remembered what my mother used to tell me about, what my mother used to tell us, and even model Ubuntu. You know, my mother used to say, the character of a good person is Ubuntu. You know, she would describe a good person by saying, she has or he has Ubuntu. And Ubuntu from my family taught me that we have abundance. It taught me that there is enough for everybody. I lacked a lot of things, but my mother taught me that we have abundance. We have everything. We used to share the little, you know, my mother used to say, if you say there isn't enough, she would say, share it. There is nothing called it's not enough. Share, if you have one thing, break it. If you have one sweet, break it. I remember we used to share every little thing and it would be enough. So I want to implore everyone who is watching today and everyone who is going to watch this video to say that there is abundance around us. There is enough for everyone. Help a child. If you see a child that is in need, assist that child. I'm going to leave you with a few things. I want to say to the young children who may be listening or who may be watching today or in future, there is no wrong or inappropriate feelings. I am saying this from experience because when I was a child, there were times when I didn't want to feel. There were times when my feelings were suppressed. And I was even told that it's wrong to feel what I sometimes felt. Even feelings of anger. When I expressed anger, there were times when adults around me would say, that is wrong. So I want to say to children that are listening, children that are vulnerable, children that may be living in vulnerable conditions, that there is no wrong feeling. Don't wish away or ignore what you feel. Even if you don't understand it, express it. Tell somebody that you don't know how you feel. That person may actually understand. You may actually read what you feel and help you to understand what you are feeling. And I want to say to vulnerable children that we work with and those that we don't work with, you are special. Don't you ever let anybody make you feel otherwise. You are special.
Dorothy, thank you so much. You know, every time I hear you speak, your passion for this project, like Diana said earlier, it's infectious.
It is.
You know, you live this work, you embody it, you're on the ground helping children, and the world needs more people like you, because people have a tendency to turn away and not want to see what is going on around them. So thank you so much for being here with us today, sharing your amazing story with us. We've gotten to know you in a much deeper way again from the last time when you spoke. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So if you were to think about your project 10 years from now, what is your vision? Where would you like your work to go?
You know, my vision is big, Gertrude. I'm not even looking at 5 years or 10 years. I'm looking at 20 years, 30 years from now. I'm seeing a community where children do not lack, because adults around them have eyes to see a child that is in need, and they have a heart
to do something,
to help that child. I see a community where adults hear what a child is not saying. I see that community because it's easy to see a child that is troubled, Gertrude.
Yeah.
It's very easy. A child that is troubled doesn't look free, doesn't look happy, doesn't have a smile on their face, is withdrawn from other children. And if you are an adult and you see a child like that and you leave them, you are not doing your part. You are not playing your role, because you and I know that where we come from, a child doesn't belong to the mother that gave birth to them.
No.
A child belongs to the village.
Yeah, that's true.
So if in our village we see children and we don't help them, what are we doing to contribute to the future? So I see that community where there is no child that will lack. In fact, in where I come from, we used to hear adults saying there is no orphan in a community. There should be no child who is called an orphan.
Yeah.
Because a child is everyone's child. If a child is everyone's child, then everyone should look after this vulnerable child.
Yes.
So I'm saying every adult should play their part and look after the world's children. We have enough around us. We have abundance. We can share what we have. We come to this world with nothing, Gertrude.
Yeah,
and
we'll leave with nothing.
With nothing. What really matters is what happens in between.
Yeah.
Between
Yeah,
when
we're
we are
still
born
alive.
and when we leave this earth, what we do is what really, really matters.
Yes.
So that's the community that I see, where no child lacks.
I love that.
It's a good vision.
It is. And in the past, it was easier. Now people are struggling with so many issues. I think that's why some of our traditional ways of being have broken down in Africa. You know, growing up, we grew up in a house full of children. If somebody died, my mother would take children in. You didn't even know whose child it was. It didn't matter. But now I think because of the numbers, the tradition, the culture is dying. And I think we need to find a way to revive it and keep it alive. I think that's
Yeah. But also, Gertrude, sometimes, yes, there is a lot of hardship back home. But I'll tell you this. Sometimes a child doesn't need you to have money to make a difference in their life.
That's true.
Just give them an ear. Listen.
Yes.
Listen to them.
That's true. Fine.
You may not have money, you may not have resources, but if you care enough to listen to a child, even if they don't say anything, you will go to Gertrude, who may have some resources. And Gertrude or Jerry will help that child. You would have facilitated for that child to get assistance. So helping is broad. You can help in any way.
There are so many ways to help.
So many ways. Just be kind.
Sometimes
and be helpful.
Reading to a child who has no one to read to them. You'd be surprised how much reading a story. We have a little grandchild, a little 4-year-old that lives here with us. And no matter what we do with him, he lightens up. He just lights up like. He's so funny because he always wants to play a game. And when we're busy, he'll sneak a game piece over, right? Like a little game board. And he'll pull out one for him and he'll kind of start playing our kids are so cute and you really get joy from doing those things with kids.
Yeah, that's
it's
so true.
Not even difficult. It's just showing a child that they are valued.
Show them love.
Yes. I mean, showing them
and just a smile.
A
smile.
Wow. That's so true.
A smile is infectious. Yeah.
We forget the little things. You're right. Well, Dorothy, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence today. I'm glad you managed to make it on the last day of our 31-day marathon. Absolutely wonderful to reconnect with you. So we're going to finish our day with a video that I had to create out of an old video. So some of you may remember Sebastian. Sebastian is a good friend of mine. He is from, not Ukraine. He will tell you where he's from in the video, but he's from that part of the world. And he travels around the world helping communities that have no water. The last time we caught him, he was in Cambodia. That's the video we will show. Then he went to Zambia. He's in Namibia, sinking boreholes and bringing water to very impoverished communities. He sent me some pictures through WhatsApp a few days ago. He's currently in Ukraine. And I said, Sebastian, come online, let's interview you so we can see if we can get some help. And he said to me, Gertrude, I'm so exhausted. I've done a lot of interviews, a lot of podcasts, major TV shows have interviewed me, and there's no help coming through. So I've just created a video with Sebastian talking about his life, sharing why he does what he does. And I've inserted the pictures of the people who are currently in Ukraine being bombed, the women and children who are impacted by this war. So, Sebastian, I know you're exhausted. I just need you to know that we are with you here in spirit. Keep doing what you're doing. Hopefully, this video will shine a light on your work and will get you some attention as well. I'm going to share the link to your website at the bottom of the video so that if there's anybody out there who's inspired to help, you can contact Sebastian directly and he will advise you how you can contribute financially to help in the work that he is doing right now in Ukraine. So thank you for being, again, another one of those angels that walk this planet, reacting whenever you see a need, you're there. Do not stop. We're with you in spirit.
To be fair, you have this talent of catching me somewhere around the world and surprising me with, immediate request to join. I'm installing a water system in Dominican. I'm actually using a friend's house to be able to join you now. I even borrowed his shirt because I'm in the jungle somewhere half naked. So I'm sorry for the inconvenient appearance, but I haven't shaved, I haven't done anything. So I'm in the bush. I spend my life in the bush. Can anybody hear me?
We can all hear you. Although we are kind of backstage, we want to give you center stage. Okay. We're in the background listening.
No problem. My name is Sebastian Tirtiro. I'm Romanian by origin. I'm a Canadian citizen. I lived in Canada. I arrived in Canada in 1999 from Africa. My life is pretty much a travel show. I've been to a lot of countries, and I've been working in a lot of countries in Africa, 45 out of the 55 countries in Africa, installing water systems to very remote communities. And I lived and worked with the Bushmen of the Kalahari for 16 years. I'm adopted by them in 1998. I've been adopted by the Bushmen of the Kalahari, where they introduced me to their world, their culture. I became their voice around the world for their suffering and plight. And I discovered the immense need for water in Africa. And of course, how this affects actually the smallest of them all, the children of Africa, which have been my priority since I started this work in 1994, when Nelson Mandela was freed from prison and elected president. I studied in Cape Town anthropology and philosophy in 94 to 97. I did a thesis on the Bushmen of the Kalahari while I was a student. I had to go there in the Kalahari to meet them and see who they are, because I fell in love with them. And when I met them, I realized the tremendous suffering they were under. Children in the Kalahari before the age of 5 were dying in percentages of around 80% because of lack of access to clean water. If you know, the Bushmen are the Sand people, not the Bushmen anymore. Nobody calls them that. It's just a name that caught up in the rest of the world with the movies The Gods Must Be Crazy 1 and 2. The guy that played there was my best friend in the Kalahari. His name was Galkana. His name in the movie was Ngao. So the Bushman name became very popular around the world, but it's actually a derogative name. It is never used in direct relationship with them. Their name are San. They are split into 4 major family groups. They are the oldest people on the continent, and right now the latest genealogical studies discover that they are some of our oldest ancestors. And I became part of one of the 4 groups of the San people called the Junwansi. They speak a Kung language, and they're extraordinary. They are my first love and my greatest love. Since 2010, my wife and I were taking care of 300 orphans in Zambia, sponsoring them in school. We do not have an orphanage. I want to make this clear from the beginning, because there's a lot of confusion and misinterpretation and misinformation about orphanages around the world. I do not believe in the institution of orphanage. I do not believe in putting kids in dormitories and cafeterias and at 18 years old to just release them back into the world with no skills. My father was an orphan, and all the orphan stories that I know from around the world are traumatic and a lot of exploitation and manipulation. Our orphans live with their villages. I spent at least 3 years working with the local villages where the orphans come from to be able to adopt these children into their families, as long as we provide the food, the clothing, the medical care, and the school fees, so they don't have an extra financial burden to raise them. This way, our kids, 300 orphans in Zambia, grow up in their language, in their society, in their culture, and they are not marginalized or ostracized by the rest of the community because they are orphans. So that, for me, was one of the most beautiful things that we could do. And yet, a month and a half ago, our orphan number just doubled to 600, because I discovered a very rough situation with 300 San kids that are trying to live in a hostel about 3 kilometers from their school, deep in Namibia in the northern Kalahari system. And they have no conditions to live in, to eat, and to live a decent life. So I adopted those 2, and now in 5 days I'm going there so we can renovate their place and give them a better standard of life. To date, my team and I, we installed about 150 water systems powered by solar technology around Africa. About 500,000 people are drinking water from there. I buy the systems myself, and my team, which is a volunteer team, we go and install the systems ourselves, no matter how deep or how remote they are. We do not have secretaries or buildings or fleets of cars. I have a 23-year-old Land Rover that is beat up, and we drive to all of the remote villages. We all have our jobs. I have a safari adventure company in Canada that is financing and is helping this. So the charity that I have also in Canada is able to do everything 100% with the funds towards the projects that we need to do. And I've been working in the Amazon for 5 years with the remote tribes in the Amazon. I've been to the Arctic 6 times, working with the Inuit of the Arctic in northern Canada. I'm adopted by the Kiai tribe in Vanuatu, South Pacific, a very remote tribe in Espiritu Santo, deep in the mountains, where we installed 6 water systems as well. So over the past 27 years, since I started this in 1994, 28 now in January, wow, it's coming. I traveled to 151 countries and worked and delivered a lot of this aid to very remote communities. I'm passionate about remote communities because of my anthropological background. I'm fascinated by our First Nations around the world. I'm fascinated by their survival, by their stamina, by their stories, by their cultures and ideologies. And I think that we would lose a huge amount of wealth and information with the loss and extinction of these First Nations, that like we do with the Sana, the Kalahari, the Pygmies of the Congo, where I spent 3.5 years with them as well. So it's something that gave me direction, goal, and passion for the last 27 years, 28 soon. But the greatest challenge right now, of course, as we all know, it's what's happening to our world today with this pandemic. The whole world has shut down their charitable pockets. Meanwhile, the greatest affected people, like before, are the children of Africa and the rest of the world in developing countries. And now it's even worse because we have displaced children, we have, conflicts coming up. There's a lot of instability because of the economic situation and political situation that's going on around the world. So at this stage, we're just, going forward, and we do continue to give water systems to these remote people and to take care of the children as much as we can. In short, seeing that I'm jumping out of the jungle with a machete in my hand and it's pouring rain outside to an internet presentation out of the blue, right now it's pretty much in general terms what I can present to you today. Now I can see everybody. It's easier when I see everybody. I can't hear anybody.
Okay, now here we go. I said, thank you so much, Sebastian. Your story is so inspiring. And before we jump into our question and answer session, I want to share the video that demonstrates the power of African women getting access to water. Now, Sebastian set up a group of women with a water system. And this is a short video that really demonstrates the power of getting access to water.
Hello, everyone. Well, after 2,900 kilometers from Dar es Salaam, we're almost close to Livingston. This is April 2021. I'm back in the village of Simuami. Remember, those of you that have seen our project from December last year, we came to the village of Simuami to install a water system in a community of about of over 1,000 people. It was bone dry at that time. They had no water. They were going 20 kilometers away with a donkey to fetch water for drinking. And we came in December and we installed this system that you see behind me with the solar panels. And you can see here the two 5,000 liter tanks that is providing water for this community. I came specifically 4 months later here to show you the amazing transformation of this village. I want to show you that water does not just satisfy the thirst of people, but it transforms the community to give them food, healthy animals, clean children, and they use the water for almost everything, of course. I want to show you now the gardens here. In December, this was completely dry. Now they have a lot of tomatoes, garlic, peppers, salad, kale, cabbage, and corn. This whole fields right here, you can see behind me, the peppers and the corn. This whole fields, all fields here in December were completely dry and empty. And now they have a bountiful crop of veggies that they use for food, and also they create income because they sell the veggies at the market. So they stopped doing the charcoal to cut down trees and create charcoal so they can make a little bit of money for them to live. And now they live off the land, off the veggies of the land, and they create an income. So water transformed this community completely, and it's giving them a better life. This is exactly the purpose that I want in every village that we install across Africa. It's to improve the livelihoods of these people, the chances of survival for children, and the transformation of the community, so they can have a better life. It is fantastic to see so much bounty here, and so much production of veggies from just one water system. I'm going to show you the corn crop. We gave them 1 bag of corn last year in December for them to plant. And the soil here in Zambia is so fertile and so good in minerals that it creates a lot of abundance when they plant things, as long as they have water. And I want to show you the community leader who is responsible for this system right there, Zenelia. Zenelia has never met me before December. Right, Zenelia? We never met, right?
No, we didn't meet.
And you wrote to me on Facebook.
I did.
And you just took a chance.
Serious chance.
You took a chance and you said, Sebastian, in case you pass by, we have a need. This is what we do. We came to visit, and then we managed to install the system. And Zenelia is the visionary behind all this. She took a chance with a stranger, and now the whole village is having an amazing production of veggies and clean water. Right?
Yes, and everyone is appreciating. People are coming even to visit and see what is happening, because they want this to be replicated even in the villages. Yes.
So other villages see this and they want
yes, and
the
others
same.
even come to help
And also get water.
Water, for water, everyone gets water from here.
Everyone.
Yes, everyone.
Good. Thank you, Zenelia. Let me show you the corn crop. I love this village. It's so beautiful and so friendly. And I want to show you here the cabbage.
Wow.
They planted also with the water from the system. All the trees are green, the mangoes, the guavas, the lemons, and the oranges, the avocados. Look at this crop of corn. This is only part of the crop from the bag of corn we gave them last December. They still have to harvest some more, and this way they will have food throughout the coming winter and dry season. We're trying to also create a garlic farm here. Garlic is very expensive and very rare in Zambia. It will be an amazing cash crop for the community to give them an income, and to develop this place that we installed the water system. I want to thank you all for those that have been involved in this. This community is drinking water and is living a better life because those of you that have supported have believed in this project from the beginning. And I want to thank you personally for that. Stay tuned. We're going down to more systems, more needy villages, and we'll keep you updated.
So that was Sebastian, an absolute angel walking this planet.
Wow.
Melody, if you're ready, just give me a wave. I think you can hear me. Yes, you are. Wonderful. And we have the beautiful Melody Stevens. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi.
So, Jerry, Melody is one of the musicians coming out of New Jersey.
Nice to meet you.
Your products to Zimbabwe. Yeah. I caught her on Facebook and I said, please come on just for a few minutes so you two can meet and we'll make the connection so we can start planning our trip to Zimbabwe. So Melody, Dorothy is also from Zimbabwe. She's based in the UK. So she was speaking a few minutes ago. And we had Jerry's son with us earlier, and he is actively already involved in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana. So we're going to be getting some support from him as well to coordinate this trip. The son actually created a program while he was there last time where he was helping the purchasing of sanitary pads for women and distributing them in schools. And he just loves the idea for us to create something sustainable and coach and train the women to make them themselves. So I wanted you to meet so that you put a face to the name. When I talk about Jerry, this is the amazing angel who made 1,000 kits for our kids.
There's a lot more than 1,000 now.
Sewing machines.
Thank you, Jerry.
Just amazing. Your generosity and kindness and just coordinating, putting all of that together during the pandemic is, I don't have the words to thank you, Jerry.
So, Jerry, you made kits for the sanitary pads?
Yes, we sewed kits for them to use, and I'll show you a part of it. This little thing it's a waterproof bag, so when the girls take their pads to school and they have a soiled one, they can put them in these and return them home without soiling their in their school bag.
That's great.
Yeah.
And each kit comes with 7 pads for every day of the week.
No, it comes
with a bar of soap, 3 pairs of panties, because little girls get raped because they don't have underwear.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
So I think for this trip, we'll have to take the soap out. Otherwise, the weight is going to kill us.
If they're only small bars of soap, the time it would take to take those out, they're really small bars of soap. Something that would be for them to take to school. So it's more important that we get them vacuum sealed. But I don't think you realize how much I actually have.
So
I saw those boxes when I came to Riverside.
Okay, well, there's probably close to double that now.
Okay. So Jerry, where are you in California?
I'm right now in Utah, but I have all the kits are in California, in Riverside area, in a town called Harupa Valley. And so what I'll do is when I know you all are coming,
I don't know. I mean, I'm wondering, I'm very curious about this because for us to go from New Jersey to California and then to South Africa and then to Zimbabwe, it seems like that's going to be crazy for it could be crazy for us. And it might be more cost effective if we got somehow the kits shipped to New Jersey and we fly from New Jersey directly to Zimbabwe. Geographically speaking, that makes more sense. I don't know. I've never done this before, Yeah,
you'll have to,
work out. Ladies, going halfway, like 3/4 of the way around the world. Maybe we can have the kits somehow come to us in New Jersey from California, right? And then we all fly halfway or 1/4 of the way across the world rather than 3/4. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. The only problem is right now they're in big boxes and it's extremely expensive to ship them.
And the volumetric weight that we're fighting against, and that's why I had the idea that if we got the Rotary Club involved and we bought vacuum seal bags, we could suck the air out of them and compress everything.
You're still not going to get that much in suitcases. Not even close to 1,000.
Right.
But it will just reduce the size because they're fabric.
They are fabric, but there are so many of them. What I need to do next time I go to California, I'll go ahead and take one of the boxes and I'll get a vacuum sealed bag. I need to know how big the suitcases are they're going to go in, or they're going to get shipped in boxes. If it's just me doing this, it's not possible for me to do it.
No, you can't do it on your own. We'll get help for you. That's why I want you to join the Rotary Club so we can use the Rotary manpower.
Well, you were going to send me a link for that, and I will.
Oh, I haven't done that, have I?
Excuse me, Gertrude.
So the reason that me and my bandmates would be carrying these over as opposed, again, I'm taking into consideration overall efficiency of this. Is it okay, so talk to me about why